Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned. Coming up next, the Grand Rapids City Commission meeting presented live on the Grand Rapids Information Network. Please stay tuned.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our City Commission meeting. If this is your first time at our meeting, I'll try to walk you through our agenda. But we'll start by not only calling the meeting to order, but I'll ask you to join me for a moment of silence before we turn and do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd please join me. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we will have roll call.
Commissioner Repper? Here. Commissioner Jones? Here. Commissioner O'Connor?
Present.
Commissioner Lanier?
Present.
Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Present.
All right, and next that will take us to our first opportunity for public comment. So let me walk you through the agenda if you're new to our commission meetings. So there are multiple times for public comment. And so the very first one is public comment on agenda items. So if you have a copy of our agenda, there's a whole list of items because we spent most of earlier today. Hey, commissioners, can you shut your mics off? Are they? Oh, they're not. Sorry. So the first opportunity is for public comment on something that we're actually voting on today or tonight. So earlier today, we had a number of standing meetings, and during those meetings, we discussed and voted on agenda items and resolutions. And so those are listed on your agenda tonight. We also have, so if you're here to speak on an agenda item or something we're voting on, I'll be calling that public comment period open in just a moment. So if you look at the agenda, we also have a couple, let's see. Do we have any public hearings tonight? We do, don't we? Ordinances, items off consent. So we have 3 public hearings tonight. So if you are here for a specific public hearing, and the 3 public hearings we have tonight is recommendation 11, which is the residential rental application ordinance, the downtown improvement district special assessment roll call, and then a public hearing on a major amendment to the special district plan redevelopment district at 3019 Coit. So if you're here to speak on one of those 3 items, I'm going to ask you to just stay put until we actually open up those public hearings. So that will be a little bit further down in the agenda. And then at the very end of the meeting is public comment on anything else that's not on our agenda tonight. Okay? So we will start with the first opportunity for public comment. So if you're here tonight to speak on something that is on the agenda that we're voting on, you can come on up. The expectation is that you'll come up here to this space by this computer. There's a microphone there. We ask that you speak in the microphone, that you share your name and the city that you live in. There's also a clipboard, and we ask that you write your name on the clipboard just so that when we're doing our minutes, we get your name spelled right. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak, and I'll remind you when your time's up, but you should be able to see it right here in front of me as well. So if you're here tonight to speak on something that we're voting on, now's an opportunity to come forward. I also ask that you say specifically what agenda item you're speaking to. So if you're here to speak on something that was on fiscal committee, you can say fiscal committee number 4 or committee of the whole number 2. So you can just refer to the agenda item so that we know what you're speaking on. So I'll open up that opportunity for public comment. So if you're here to speak on an agenda item, please come forward.
Good evening. Jim Connor. I work for Triangle Associates in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I'm here to speak about agenda item X or 10 for items removed, the award of Davis Construction of the Grand Rapids Water Treatment Plant. Real quick, I've sent the entire commission kind of a packet of information that I believe you all have received and read. But real quick, how we got here, and the reason I'm here is to contest the award of this project to Davis Construction. Real quick, I'm going to restate some of the bullet points that have been made. But Triangle is a 100-year company. We've been here in Grand Rapids, 4th generation, long-standing relationship with the city. We submitted the low qualified bid. and we used all the pre-qualified subcontractors that were listed and furnished to us by the city. Nowhere in the bidding documents did it specify that there was going to be a waiver from that or special subcontractors were needed within that. Triangle is responsible for the job. We will furnish a performance and payment bond, not our subcontractors, so we are ultimately responsible for the work ultimately anyway with the city, and we also are qualified with the city to perform this work. Our team members are DHE Mechanical. This appears to be the subcontractor in question by the city. I outlined that they're in the packet of information. I won't get into specifics, but their contract is mostly the purchase of equipment, not as much on the labor. One of the processes that we have to go through as a construction manager on many of our public jobs is the review and approval of subcontractors. Many of our owners are public institutions, and we have to honor the value of dollar. And when we scrutinize the subs in post-bid interviews, our job is to validate that they are complete and that they met the bidding requirements. In this instance, we have done that. If we were to bring a subcontractor and recommend stepping over or going to the second or third person or the subcontractor that we like, rather than who was low, we need to have ironclad reasoning, something that the school board or the university can stand behind publicly and not want to be scrutinized. That's our job. So I think right now we can see that this is a very important decision for the city, and there's a lot of subcontractors in the contractor community are going to be watching, engaging your reaction on how you make this decision, whether or not you're going to validate your bid process and authenticate it for the integrity that it's meant to be. And I think it's important because there's measurable outcome here that I don't know how you would measure, but it will not be good. So I hope the commission will do the right thing and award this project to Triangle Associates because we are the low responsive bidder. We met all the requirements. We answered all the questions in post-bid interviews, and we utilized the specifications, and we have everything covered. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. All right, others who wish to be heard on items that we are voting on tonight?
Good evening. My name is Norm Brady. I'm the president of Associated Builders and Contractors. We are a trade association of commercial construction companies. We represent 425 member companies in Western Michigan. At ABC, we have a great relationship with the city. We work on a number of initiatives together, including cooperation with the Monday Group, the Grand Rapids Racial Equity Initiative, My Career Quest, and many more. We're very grateful for the work and the opportunities that the city provides to our members. There are a variety of project delivery methods that an owner might employ to bring a project to completion. In the case of the pretreatment plant that Jim Connor just spoke about, the city pre-qualified bidders on that project and put it out as a hard bid project with the expectation that it would go to the low qualified bidder. DHE was an approved bidder. In fact, we have a letter from the city authorizing work up to $6 million. But subsequently, after the bids were received, the city has now determined that DHE is not qualified. And I think that is really the crux of the issue. I'm here tonight to suggest that DHE is eminently qualified to perform the work on the water treatment plant. They're a company with revenue in excess of $30 million a year. They have done comparable projects for Dowagiac schools, Portage schools of equal size. DHE is the subcontractor of the year for two major general contractors in the area, CSM in Kalamazoo and Earhart Construction. It's clear DHE is very well qualified to do this work. If the city preferred to handpick its team, a construction management delivery system would have been the appropriate method to employ, where you can choose your team and you negotiate directly with them. But when it's put out as a hard bid, again, the expectation is that it will go to the low qualified bidder. What's interesting is there are other contractors in the audience tonight who are going to come up and speak on this issue who are competitors of Triangle and DHE, and they're going to be speaking about awarding this project because they're concerned about the integrity of the process, that next time it might be them who lose a project over personal preference versus price. So I urge the commission to award this project to Triangle and DHE and restore the integrity in the bidding process. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Norm. All right. Others who wish to be heard?
Good evening. Nate Hybor. I'm one of the owners of DHE Plumbing and Mechanical. I am representing the subcontractor in question here, I guess. We've been teamed up with Triangle almost since day one, 13 years ago. We are a younger company, but size-wise, we're 130 employees strong. Great benefits, full 401k, health benefits, everything that you would see from a larger corporation. You can look out these windows right here in the city of Grand Rapids and see multi-million-dollar projects we're building right now. Our resume might be short as far as length, but as far as complication and size, this project is not that complicated. It's a $6 million contract to us. Out of that, over $4 million is just equipment. So the day that equipment shows up on Grand Rapids site, that contract just goes from $6 million, which sounds like a very large number, down to a much more manageable number. Our actual labor on the project alone is only $600,000. Last year we spent over $6 million on labor alone just with our staff. So we're hoping that maybe we can reevaluate the bidding process. We were qualified. We have not done a plate job this size. We've done other plate projects like this across the Midwest. Honda plants, for example, we've gone around and done that. These large plate jobs just don't come up every day. So you're not going to find a contractor in the area that has done 10, 11, 12 of these. At the end of the day, there was only 4 mechanical contractors that even bid on a project like this, and then you're down to only 4 general contractors who bid on a job like this. If there's concern with justification of bids once we're all done, we had a staff of 7 guys working many, many hours in our estimating department working on making sure that this was a perfect bid. You can see the separation of bids from us and other subcontractors. There isn't some large gap. We were the low bidder on bid day, low qualified. Same thing with Triangle, low qualified bidder. I do not see the reason to skip over 2 very qualified contractors in the area to pay more money for somebody. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So we're hoping that we can get another solid look at this. Outside of that, we wouldn't bid on a job unless we really thought we could do it. We've struggled so hard to get our name out there, being such a young company, but we are qualified, and we've done that by doing other jobs for the city of Grand Rapids, for doing other great work for other great contractors in the area. And we're proud of who we are. We're proud of what we've done. We'd love to be a part of this project, part of the city that helps keep all of our guys working. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
So I'm Josh Szymanski, Grand Rapids Township. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at O&M's Kimball. We're a construction manager here in Grand Rapids. We're a competitor of Triangle Associates. We were actually the low red low bidder originally on bid day. Due to a paperwork error on our part, the city disqualified our bid. They met with us, we talked about it, it didn't give us an advantage, didn't significantly change the price. But we heard their position, and I sent Jeff a letter afterwards saying I respect their position. I don't agree with the decision, but I respect that they kept maintaining the integrity of their bid process. And then a couple days later, I heard what's happened to our competitors, and I just had to come say something because I'm concerned about the integrity of the process. We all go through significant effort to pre-qualify and then spend thousands of dollars bidding these projects. And we all assume that once we're qualified, we're a viable bidder. We have to be the low qualified bidder. And to introduce this, well, you're good, but they're better by 15,000, or maybe 50, or maybe 100 today, introduces this uncertainty in our process that we just can't have. We can't be in a bid room looking at subcontractors saying these guys are all qualified, but the city may not like this guy, so we're not going to use them. We can't operate like that. And so, like Triangle, we work with a lot of public entities. The standard with the city has always been qualification, bid, and award the low qualified bidder as long as they're qualified. And I'd recommend you stick to that because, quite honestly, with 4 original general contractor bidders and 4 mechanical bidders, really down to 3 on both of those, the city can't afford to be making I like and I feel choices. Once you introduce this over 15, even the recommendation says for $14,227, we feel it's a better choice to go to the next. If we're going to be in this better, best category, I agree with Norm. This should have been a qualification-based proposal. We're talking about RFP. We know going in what we're getting into rather than spending thousands of dollars to say we're all qualified, we're all viable, let the low bidder win. And so for that reason, I also recommend you reconsider this and take a good hard look at Triangle Associates. These boys from DHE have bootstrapped this company for 13 years. They've done everything right. They've taken it from their dad's plumbing company, basically, into a huge multi-million-dollar operation. And they can do this job. Their bond is with Triangle. They can do this job. So I'd recommend you award to them.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Craig Datema. I thought we'd keep this on a roll in item 10.1. I am the fourth generation of my family that's been building buildings in Grand Rapids for 100 years, including many projects for the city of Grand Rapids. All during this process, not one person has said to me, looked to me, implied, or written that would say Triangle Associates is not qualified to do this project. Triangle was the one who bid on this project, assembling our team of subcontractors, honoring the integrity of the bid award process. Part of your process is for us to provide you a list of subcontractor bidding that bid on the projects and who our local contractors were. And that's probably to keep contractors from bid shopping. But what we have here is almost a reverse bid shopping, where we're allowing potentially a subcontractor to choose which contractors he was going to give preferential pricing, knowing that perhaps he had an in with one of the consultants or other potential influencing elements on the project. This is something that is significantly important. The integrity of our process is so important. As leaders, we're faced this all the time as leaders of organizations, to do the right thing, to do the things of principle versus preferences or other wants and wishes of our staff. Not discussed is that Triangle also honored your micro LBE program on this project. This is not a one-off. We've been supporting construction in minority contractors and disadvantaged contractors in this community for 20 years. I personally have served as mentors. We've been active participants in the Monday group. These are the things that we do as leaders, is that we establish policies that we expect and want our staff to follow. And Triangle was the only contractor that honored your wishes and reached out into the disadvantaged community and worked with a contractor that we've had a long working relationship with. I think your award to our competitor, throwing that element out, it would be a terrible statement that you'd be making to the community. This is a good program. It's a program that we honor and a program that we wanted to do. We also are a professional organization. I'm a licensed architect. My partners are architects and professional engineers. The project superintendent that we propose for the job is a licensed professional engineer. We have the best team for doing this project, hands down. And we know we also have a better safety record than our competitors. So if you put a check in all those important boxes, the award should definitely go to Triangle. The only thing I've heard negative is we like another subcontractor from another company a little bit more. That should not be the basis for the city to make the award, and we hope you make the right choice. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard? And again, this is feedback on something that we're voting on tonight.
I'm a fifth generation poor person. I'm going to ask that you use some consideration for us poor people and not have us sit up here for 2 hours listening to rich people problems. It's insulting. You didn't wait to gentrify Grand Rapids. Don't make us wait to speak on Grand Rapids.
Okay, this is a public hearing to hear feedback on things that we are voting on tonight. Others who wish to be heard?
Here's another rich guy. Good evening, fellow citizens. This is the House of the People. Watchdog Miller reporting. First, some housekeeping. If there are any veterans in the office, we're dealing with some sloppy, slovenly procedures. On June 28th, you have a hearing scheduled for, you've got to go, veterans have to show up on the Coit matter, Monroe matter, at June 28th, 1120 Monroe, off Leonard, at 1:30 p.m. And that site will be up to modify and demolish some existing structures. This should have gone to our marvelous historic preservation panel here locally, which maintains more civilized hours for starting at 4 p.m. rather than 1:30 p.m. and more working class friendly. So why is it there? And then I've heard it's going before Lansing. Let's do the homework first here with our great historic preservation panel on these matters. Normal problems, and I think I'm kind of supporting the cesspool in terms of bidding. There are no dollar figures down your agenda. Again, 9B3, 467, no dollar figures, and you can just raise your agenda if anybody wants to go court on a previous speaker. C3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, no dollar figures. Same deal on D5. Let's go back. The Dickinson Wright on B2 fires lawyers with pro-life views. That's, that should never happen. On Madison Square parking lot, B7. Let's bring back the Noble Route 19 Oakdale. I don't have anything against parking there, but why not bring back the 19? When they stole the 19, when it was the last local black bus route that came downtown here, running Monroe. They moved it over to Oak Industrial. Ridership went down 70% month after month. The second year it was down 60%. Why pretty fight? I'm not against parking, but I've been going by there on a bus since 1946, riding on my own. I don't see why. I think the local groups, such as the NAACP, which is headquartered there, and should fight to bring back the 19 first. On C10, no streets are named, no details on that. The D1 is bigoted. You're going to provide city money for GRPS students, but why not the 3 Catholic high schools here and GR Christian High School? Why not offer golf skills for them? Existing canopy is appalling. It should be expanded.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thanks. All right, others who wish to be heard on items that we are voting on tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close that first opportunity for public comment, and that'll take us to our next agenda item, and that is approval of our minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support. All right, commissioners, any comments, edits, changes? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications.
Communication received from the Greater Grand Rapids Bicycle Coalition regarding the implementation of the upcoming Bicycle Action Plan.
That is received and filed.
Communication from Mary Swanson regarding her resignation from the Downtown Improvement District Board.
That is referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication from Tim Kelly regarding the resignation from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
That is referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Marthea Dowling-Jager regarding affordable housing recommendations.
That is received and filed.
Communication received from East Hills Council of Neighbors urging the City Commission to oppose the request to abandon AMI requirements.
And that is also received and filed. Next, that will take us to reports of city officers.
Comptroller's report for the period of May 30, 2018 through June 5, 2018 in the amount of $11,802,237.01.
That is received and filed.
And Treasurer's report for the period of May 25, 2018 through June 1, 2018.
And that is also received and filed. So next, that will take us to our consent agenda and reports of standing committees. So our consent agenda tonight captures everything that we talked about earlier at one of our meetings where there was a unanimous vote. So with one voice vote tonight, we will adopt those items and then we'll move to items that are off consent. So can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I need item C5 removed for recusal.
Oh, thank you.
Abstention, I mean to say.
All right. So we will move that to items off consent.
So moved. Support.
All right, commissioners, anything else about the consent agenda? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, so I will bring up then, the first item off consent is the one that we just removed. So that's Community Development Committee, resolution item number 5. This is a resolution authorizing acquisition of the 2018 tax foreclosure properties.
So moved.
Support.
All right, so commissioners, let's see, someone from CD want to talk about this one? Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, I'm happy to. This year's group of foreclosed houses that are coming to the city will be cleared by the land bank, which we very much appreciate, to clear title, and then they will be given to the city and parceled out between our nonprofits. There were not as many this year. As we know, things have changed in the housing market dramatically. But that tradition that we had before the land bank was born, we will use again, and we will get those partners together to parcel out those, and then hopefully they will all be turned into some affordable housing.
Yes, indeed. Any questions about that, commissioners? We talked about this new process in our Economic Development Project Team meeting, and so I'm glad to see it move forward. Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you, it carries. All right, next that will take us to our second item off consent, and this is a resolution awarding a contract with Davis Construction for pretreatment system at the Lake Michigan Filtration Plant. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, so I think I will start this, and Jeff's already up, so I'll give our acting city engineer an opportunity to give us some background on this. This item, actually, several of us had a lot of questions about earlier today, and city staff have been providing additional information after hearing the concerns brought to our attention by Triangle. So, Jeff, you want to start off? And then
Sure.
I'll open it up for
Good evening,
questions.
Mayor and Commissioners. This is a large and challenging project at our water filtration plant. The mechanic.
Oh.
Speaker, identify himself.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. So this is Jeff McCall, our acting city engineer. And so, Jeff, can you just speak a little bit closer into the microphone?
Sure.
Thanks.
Jeff McCall, acting city engineer. This is a large and challenging project, especially for the mechanical contractor on the project. As stated earlier, the mechanical portion of the work is about $6 million of the overall $13 million project. Large, heavy equipment must be moved through small openings in the building and assembled in a tight space. Operation of the water treatment facility will be impacted by the construction activities, as various components will be taken offline at various times during the project. Maintaining the existing operations at the plant are very important to providing the drinking water to residents here in the city and also our customer communities. For these reasons, the experience level of each team's mechanical contractors were reviewed as part of the bid evaluation process and bid interview process. Representatives from the Lake Plant Engineering Department and also Fishbeck Thompson, Carr & Huber interviewed the two low bidders on this project, Triangle Construction and Davis Construction. Lists of similar water and wastewater projects were requested from their team's mechanical subcontractors. These lists were reviewed. Davis Construction listed Franklin Howard Company as their mechanical contractor. They had completed numerous projects of similar size and scope to what is being done here at the Lake Plant. DHE's list of similar water and wastewater type projects was minimal, with the largest project being about $800,000. Following the bid interview process, the recommendation from the bid interview team was unanimous to award the contract to Davis Construction based on their team's experience with similar type projects. This will help minimize risk to the city. This is a project that needs to stay on schedule, and also there were some concerns raised about the integrity of the bid process. It is within the city's right to award the contract to a bidder other than the low bidder if we deem them to be more qualified. Regarding DHE's pre-qualification, they were previously pre-qualified for $2.5 million, and they did one previous project at our Lake Plant for about $400,000. After the bids were received, they did follow up with a request to increase their pre-qualification. This is for all mechanical contracting categories. The project experience list that they provided was predominantly schools and light commercial work. We do believe they have the financial capacity to do a $6 million project. They just really lack the experience on this type of project.
All right, I think I'll start with our Community Development Committee and see if there's comments or questions, and then I'll turn to other commissioners who may have some questions for you. So Jeff, if you want to stay put.
Yeah,
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yeah, I'll chime in. So, yeah, we did discuss this morning and then had some additional conversations afterwards, trying to wrap our heads around this. You know, I understand it. I think we understand the process that it went through, and you know what is within the city's purview and what is not. You know, I'm still struggling with the idea of it. You know, our process and setting a process out there, and someone going through that process, and then getting to the point that we award the bid. And you know, if the expectation was the low bidder got the job, because we did our diligence as an entity on the front end to determine who was qualified and who was not qualified to, you know, submit a bid. I'm still trying to figure this all out, and I'm not I'm still not comfortable with where it's at. So.
All right, others? Commissioner Lanier, you want to weigh in, and then Commissioner
Sure. I think when we discussed this morning, we talked about the process probably more than anything else. And for me, I think to have a process that has less subjectivity to it is the ideal way to go. And this is pretty much what we heard during the public comment, that if this was all laid out and this was the process, and then to have a decision made that's outside of the process, it allowed for there to be a little bit of confusion. I was satisfied after we had some conversations after the meeting with staff's perspective on the way the process worked. But to be honest, now in light of more public comment and hearing from more people about their perspective on this, I feel like maybe we do need to have more conversations about what the process was, and you know, in writing, so we can kind of clearly see what the steps, what were the steps that were presented, how did people follow those steps to make sure that we did follow a process. I would hope in that the staff that we have here at the city would not make any decisions, as been said tonight during public comment, to make a decision based on personal preference. I think that we have professional staff here who takes their very full responsibility of the work that they have before them as they're making decisions. So in no way am I asking for us to kind of look at the process to indicate that I'm believing that aspect of it, as much as I think it's important to make sure as a public institution that whatever it is that we put before the public, that it is a process that we will all follow. So that's kind of my perspective right now, is just maybe making sure that we're all on the same page, because if there is any hesitation from any of us about what this process was, I think we need to make sure that we're clear as we're making a decision.
Commissioner O'Connor wanted to follow up, and then I'll turn to Commissioner Kelly.
And I just want to be clear too. I mean, I know that the team at the city here, like, their best intentions are to do what's right. The water system in Grand Rapids is, you know, best in class across the Midwest, and we know that they take that seriously and want to make sure that the safety of everybody who accesses our water is their number one priority. And so I know that any decisions that they're making, they're doing it because they want to make sure that, you know, that integrity stays true. As it comes to the engineering process, I don't think anyone's doing anything that's you know, not in the best interest of the city and trying to do what they think is right. I'm just, you know, like a lot of things that I like to complain about, is process is important, and honoring process is something we need to do, and I just want to make sure that the process that was laid out was fair and consistent. And so, you know, and I do start with the, you know, knowing that there was a fourth contractor who also submitted a bid for this, who was disqualified for whatever paperwork reason. Like, you know, what was that bid, and who was their contractor too? Like for mechanical, and what did that look like? Just so I have a better picture of what this looked like as well. Mm-hmm. So, again, I still don't know where to go from here, because I also know that ensuring that we have continuous quality water in the city of Grand Rapids is important. And
yes, Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, well, we received, I just want to make sure that Triangle knows that we did receive a letter from you last night. We got it again this afternoon, but I was able to read it last night. We received that from our city attorney and our staff. In my tenure, and I've been here since 2010 now, it's not common, but it's not also unusual to sometimes not have the low bidder. And that is, again, because staff reviews and makes an assessment based on prior experience with those who have done work with the city before. And also what their skills are and how they match the project, of course. It disturbs me to hear that words like used tonight, like people may not like or feel. I think that perhaps the lesson for us is to be a little bit more precise in defining reasons. But again, we as a commissioner, myself as a commissioner, we do rely on staff. They are experts, and we have been, I think, very pleased with the work of the water department in the whole time I've been here. We certainly made suggestions for changes, and they have made those kinds of changes. To me, I think it's on us as a commission to learn a little bit more about the process. My understanding is that there were this decision was really made based on the prior experience that staff has had with these various contractors in various contexts, and that they felt that this was going to be the best outcome for the city and for our taxpayers and for us. I think as a body, two things. One, Commissioner, both of you Commissioners, O'Connor and Lanier, I think you're speaking to the need for our public to be feeling good about this process and that it had integrity. But at the same time, I also agree that we've got a staff that does have integrity and has worked hard to make sure that we are delivering the best service in terms of our water quality for the city of Grand Rapids and its residents. We want to make sure too that we don't hold up a project. So I felt satisfied when I was finished asking questions and that we should move forward with Davis. Now, that does not mean that we shouldn't also get a closer look at process as a board, so we better understand it. But again, it's not the first time that we have not chosen a low bidder. The bids were very, very close. Mm-hmm. This is a $13 million project, and the bids were extremely close. What I don't know what the percent would be, less than 1%, something like that. So therefore,
can you remind us the difference?
Yeah.
I think the difference in the discounted bid was $14,000, a couple $100.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen.
I do not support awarding this contract to Davis Construction, and I'll tell you why. When it comes to a bidding process, process is everything, and it disturbs me, and I knew about this before even the comment was made, that actually the low red line bid was OAK, who would be, if you were to ask the city, I'm guessing would be one of their, they've done big jobs like this, would probably, so they were disqualified because of a technical error on paperwork, yet for a staff decision, we're able to waive the process. So that dichotomy doesn't sit well with me. Ironically, this morning in fiscal, which I'll be talking about later, we approved a very long list of budget amendments, which you typically do in the last meeting of the year, but included in that budget amendment is $6 million in bids that are gonna go out for street work and underground sewer work. And if we don't abide by our process, you know, it's just not a good precedent to set. Triangle has a long-standing history in this city. They have done projects 4 or 5 times the size of this. It's their bond on the line, not the subcontractor, so if something goes wrong, it's their bond. When I was on school board and we did the bond issue, they did several major 30 plus $25 million plus $30 million plus, you know, think about that. If you don't get it done on time and on budget, the kids don't go to school in the fall. I mean, those, you know, I'm not saying the whole city water is comparable to one school, but I'm just saying that this is not just any old company. And for me, what's unprecedented is to have other competitors come and make public comment about this process. Mm-hmm. That I've never seen before. So that tells me about the severity of this. So I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones or Apart, do you want to ask questions or weigh in or share your thoughts?
Sure. I too was able to hear from staff and was the recipient of the correspondence that was sent out by Triangle regarding the project and their position and their request to have the bid awarded to them. And I heard from staff on today about how they came to their conclusion of wanting to award it to Davis. And one of the conclusions I came to was this, I think in no way speaks to whether or not this is a capacity or an issue of one's ability, the subcontractor's ability to do the work. I think that that's not the question. I think that clearly both of the subs have the ability or the aptitude to do the work. And so the fact that the city staff has made their decision based on their wisdom and their experience and their belief that the city would be better suited or positioned to have the work done by Davis and their subcontractor, that I see that as acceptable. I see that also as something that, realizing that we don't always have to receive the lowest bid, that we can use, that we can step back and take a good hard look at what is in the best interest of the city and its residents. And so I put a lot of stock into the wisdom of our city staff, and especially when it comes to something as critically important as our water. And so I think there's something to be said about their level of comfort in wanting to have a contractor, subcontractor work on this who has significant experience working on similar projects. I think that's something that I can be in support of. And so I am in support of having the contract awarded to Davis. And again, I'm basing that on the wisdom and the insight that I received from city staff, and also taking a good hard look at both Davis's bid as well as that of Triangle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Repart, you have questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, just in my short tenure on the commission at this point, I'm at the mercy of the staff in so many ways. And they're at that water plant every day. And what I heard from them today was, this is something that we've got to get right. It's the water for the city. And I believe that. On the flip side, and the thing that I'm most conflicted about is the reason why we set up the discount for using minority-owned contractors is so that people could get bids that we're going to pass on those contracts to minority-owned businesses. And so I think that was the $100,000 that got Triangle the edge. And so I find myself really wanting to honor the staff, but I really want to honor that. That's the reason why we put that big bid discount in there. So I'm a bit torn yet, but I think that it's exceptional that Triangle leveraged that, and that's important to me.
Commissioner Kelly?
Well, I want to make something clear. My understanding, this is not a minority-owned business. I too, I wasn't sure because of the MLB, because that also includes local.
Oh, sure.
So I looked up the best I could online last night, but that's correct.
It's Mason Rock Contracting. I'm not sure who the owner is or what his.
Oh, okay, Mason Rock, the small, okay, there are three contractors in here. There's the large, and then there's the mechanical, and then there's the Mason Rock is, I think.
Yeah, they were a micro-local business enterprise.
I couldn't find.
ODI, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, oversees that program, and they are pre-qualified with our office for masonry work.
Okay.
Jeff, I have a question. Can you speak to, I've shared this earlier. I'm really struggling with this as well. And the integrity of the bid process is incredibly important. And I appreciate individuals from different companies coming forward and talking about that. I'm curious about the comment related to if we had certain expectations about experience, why didn't we just do a different process and not do bid, but do more of a
The CM route?
Yes, thank you. I should have wrote down what that other process was, but can you explain to us why we didn't do that? And then if we're not comfortable supporting this tonight, what would it go back out to bid? I'm just curious, process-wise, what happens if there's not support for this resolution? So if you can answer both those questions, why we didn't do a different type of process if we had very clear expectations about level of experience? And then secondly, can you walk us through process? Because I know, I agree with Commissioner Kelly, this happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen often, and I can't recall the last time that we were having this conversation around this table.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't happen very often. I guess the CM route versus design bid build, I think this project kind of grew as it evolved. The work in the flocculation sedimentation basins was added to the project, which increased the value of the contract. I think we knew there was enough subcontractors involved that it would be a prime bid, not a mechanical prime contract or an electrical prime. And I don't think the CM is kind of newer territory for the city. We've delivered a few projects this way, the biodigester at the wastewater treatment plant, and also the City Hall HVAC is being done that way as well. So, yeah, I guess I'm not sure, Dustin, do you know, was there much other discussion?
Any lengthy discussion had as far as if we're going a CM route or a hard bid route. Or a typical way that the hard bid CM is relatively contract language and how that works is a little bit different. So we stuck with hard bid process.
I can assure you that any suggested unprofessional relationships between the consultant or the city are, unwarranted and absurd. There's no improprieties going on between us or our consultants, as suggested earlier. I guess where we go from here, if the motion is defeated, we don't have another resolution here tonight, so the next meeting is in July. I guess internally staff would decide if we'd recommend to award to Triangle, reject bids, that hasn't really been discussed or determined going forward. So, but yeah, it could add delays to the project if we had to rebid and go through this. And that probably, I can't really say which option we would do. We'd get the advice of the attorney, and maybe she wants to.
So if I could add just a little bit too.
Go ahead.
So rebidding is problematic too, because now everybody knows everybody's prices.
That's what I was gonna say.
And so that, if Norm we were asked Mr. Brady to come back and talk about that, I think he would express an opinion about that. So there aren't really a lot of good options here. I have a question for you, Jeff, though. So the process of that you go through when you take a bid, it isn't that we put a special lens on this particular bid. We review all the bids we get, right? So we look at all the subs and all the generals that apply and everything that's going on, just because we need to make sure that that all the bids are correct and that we've got good subs and all that kind of stuff. So we would do a review of any bid that comes in, correct?
That's correct. Any bids that come in, say you had 7 or 8 bids, you're not going to probably interview all 8 bidders. You'd interview the low 2, typically the low 2. I think it depends on the type of project and the scope. A small roof replacement job of $100,000 where you have 2 bidders, they may only interview the low bidder on that case. And if we're satisfied with their bid, the award would be to recommend to that bidder. I think in this case, the bids were quite close. Both bidders were interviewed. Also, if there's a big gap in the bids, that can raise questions that, one of the subcontractors or the general contractor may have missed something. So that's oftentimes sorted out during the bid interview process. We've had bidders withdraw, through that process, knowing that they've missed something, and so it's not necessarily at that point going to the second bidder, but it's more because the first bidder withdrew their bid. That wasn't the case here. I think both bidders were satisfied with their bid, as they stated here tonight.
Commissioners, other questions or comments? Commissioner?
Mayor, so I'm wondering, I agree with the city manager that if we were to go out for another bid, that the outcome would be everyone is aware of the existing bid. So I'm wondering, instead of starting the process from scratch, if there's a way to address the questions about process in the interim, so that if we're unclear and members of the public are unclear, then perhaps we need to kind of, in black and white, talk about what that process was so that we can understand that the process was followed. And maybe that'll be helpful for, at least for me, because my question is regarding process, and Commissioner O'Connor's question is about process as well. And I think we just need to spell out what the process was so that we can be assured that whatever the process is, it isn't changing based on who's bidding. I think that's kind of what I'd like to eliminate from my mind and from the minds of those who have shared frustration here this evening. And I wonder if there's a way of doing that before next meeting, instead of postponing the decision, instead of having a motion fail and then having to have a next step, perhaps not having the decision come tonight so that we can clear up some of the confusion about what the process may or may not have been.
So do you want to make a motion to postpone until our next meeting?
I would recommend, for the clerk's sake, that whoever made the motion to amend it,
I'm teaching you guys
to amend it to postpone the discussion until our next meeting. And I think that's enough time. Well, I know that this is a little bit of a break for some of us, but if there is a way to be able to get some of those questions answered between now and our next meeting so that then it can be brought back for discussion.
Commissioners? Commissioner Kelly?
I have real concerns about holding up this project in the summer months that's when construction is done. Jeff, can you speak to that?
I mean, a lot of the construction's on the interior of the plant, so, but there are times of the year that this is high demand, the summer pumping. Wayne, maybe you can speak to that this was I believe a 2-year construction window to do the project, so the roof was gonna have to be removed from a portion of this, and I think some of this was done around things have to be taken offline at certain times when the pumping demands are lower in the fall, but Wayne may be able to elaborate.
Yes, Jeff is correct. The plan and the original design documents indicate that a portion of the roof will need to be removed. The roof consists of precast concrete double Ts, which those will have to be saw cut, replaced, so that we can actually lift the accelerator structures out to get that out of there, and then there has to be basically a redesign brought back in. So while it may not seem like a lot for 3 to 4 weeks of a delay, as we continue to delay, it starts to run into the winter months, which could create some potential issues inside the plant.
So would you want a failed vote potentially and have to start from scratch? I think you have to weigh some options as well as we're trying to make this decision.
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question.
Okay.
Well, yeah, what you could,
So I'll let Eric speak and then Commissioner Allen.
sorry, Mayor. So what, Jeff, you could say is, so the time of, to rebid, for example, if we chose to do that, even though it's maybe not a great option, so you'd have to, even if we did it exactly with the same plans and specs, there's still a notice period, there's an evaluation period, so tell us what time that entails.
Yeah, it's probably a minimum 3-week advertisement period. Depending on the commission schedule, probably a minimum of 2 weeks to get an award item before you. Due to the nature of this one, I don't know if I'd be comfortable rebidding before bids are rejected. So I guess that would be another legal question if we could concurrently do that. We have done that before, but we wouldn't really be able to take them concurrently to the same meeting, probably a rejection and an award at the same time. So.
All right, so Commissioner Allen?
Quick comment, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but something that was just said struck a chord with me, and that's that sometimes when staff reviews bids, if there's a real discrepancy, like somebody's really low, you're going to want to interview that person just because they might not know what they're doing in that bid. I mean, if you're that low, but to me, having done bids in a variety of levels and the fact that the bids were that close, it indicates to me that the subcontractor in question knew what they were doing, because if you're bidding it that close, you know what you're taking on. That's why you got your bid right. doing the actual work is part of it, but getting the bid right, that's the hard part in some cases. So going into it, I would think, again, this whole process needs to be reviewed on another date. But for me, I'm comfortable with awarding it to Davis Construction. I mean, they were pre-qualified coming in. I mean, Triangle, they were pre-qualified coming in. I apologize.
Commissioner, I'm not following you.
I'm comfortable with awarding it to Triangle. They were pre-qualified coming in. They and their subcontractors were pre-qualified coming in. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so we have a couple options. A motion has not been made. I can call the question, and it sounds like there's very mixed feelings among this table. Or we can postpone till our next meeting, which would give us time to have additional conversations about process and also address some of the concerns that were brought to us tonight. And I will turn to one of you to either make the motion to postpone or I will call the question.
So, sorry, Mr. Clerk, I was trying, but I will make a motion to postpone the discussion into the next meeting.
Okay, is there a support for that?
Support.
Okay, so the motion before is to postpone and have this come back, which would give us time to get additional questions answered as well as better understand the process. Go ahead.
And I think as a part of the discussion to the motion that's on the floor now, I think it's imperative that not only should we be clear, but I think many people spoke about the process who are intimately involved in bidding. It's important that they too understand what the process is. And so during this interim period, I would also want there to be discussions about the process with those who participate in bidding with the city so that they too will have an understanding about what transpired, as well as, what our process should be and why we chose one process over another in this particular instance.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments? Okay, I will call the question on postponing. All those in favor of postponing say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Raise your hand if you are supportive of postponing. I'm supportive of postponing. Okay, so 4. So it passes. So it'll be postponed and brought back before us on July 10th. To this meeting. Yep. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The other motion, the original,
Yeah.
it fails on its own. Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you all for a good discussion. And next, that'll take us to a resolution. This was also removed from consent. A resolution setting a public hearing on proposed zoning ordinance text amendments relative, or related, I should say, to medical marijuana.
So moved.
Support. All right, so this is setting the public hearing. It is off consent because it was a split vote. Commissioners, any final comments about that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
It carries, and that will be set for July 10th. All right, next that will take us to ordinances to be adopted, and we have 3 ordinances before us tonight.
Ordinance to repeal Section 7.262 Special Event License of Chapter 99 of Title 7 entitled Transient Merchants.
So moved.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Linear, you want to tell us about this?
I sure do, Mayor, when I find my copy. Madam Clerk. Oh, here we go. Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry. We have a Mr. Clerk, Mr. Clerk. So we have before us, the clerk office has been making some adjustments to a number of licenses that come before the commission, and this is, I think we had maybe four or five last time, and this is just another one of those licenses that we are removing. That'll also take immediate effect tonight.
All right. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right. This is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruppert?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, and can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, next that will take us to an ordinance, our second ordinance tonight.
Ordinance amending Section 1 of the Budget Ordinance 2017-36 for fiscal year 2018, amendment number 22.
So moved.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Allen, your last budget with us.
Yeah, so we had 18 items on our budget amendment resolution this morning. Most of them were typical year-end housekeeping, moving funds from one to another fund in preparation for them not being spent moving into the next year. The most notable of the 18 is that we were able to move some money back into our operating reserves, and we now are at the percentage that we have set as a goal for operating reserves. The fund balance started at the beginning of the day at $842,000, and it ends at zero, as we typically do, zero out at the end of each fiscal year. So,
Great. All right, Commissioners, any questions or comments about that? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruppert,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
yes,
Mayor Bliss.
Yes. And can I get a motion to give this immediate effect?
so moved.
Support?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, and that'll take us to our third ordinance tonight.
Resolution to consider adoption of the fiscal year 2019 city budget ordinance.
So moved?
Support.
All right. Commissioner Kelly, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, this wraps up our season of budgeting, and I want to thank the staff for doing a whole lot of work on this, and we've been meeting every week for the last couple of months in order to meet the state requirement of passing our budget at the right time of the year. So this month wraps up this fiscal year, and this is the FY 2019 budget that we are approving tonight, and it's available online, and there's also a website where the citizens put together that is easier to actually access. Do you have that website?
Off the
I
top
know
of my
somebody
head.
asked you before. We've got to get that online for people.
Citizen Budget GR?
Citizen Budget GR, I
I
think
think
that's
that's what it is.
Yeah, so it's just a much more
gone to it
user-friendly
multiple times.
opportunity to look at the budget. And I would encourage you all, if you're interested, to search that. It's probably easier than searching the budget online that we have.
So why can't we make ours easy too?
So Commissioner, we talked about that a bit this morning, and all of you will be getting a survey from me soon, getting your feedback about the process and the format, and we will gather all of that in preparation for next year.
Great.
Yeah. All right, any final questions or comments? All right, I want to thank all the staff who worked on this. We've spent several months on this. So with that, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruppert,
Yes.
Commissioner Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes. All right, and Commissioners, we don't have any resolutions before us tonight, and so that will take us to our 3 scheduled public hearings. And before I open up these public hearings, I wanna make a comment. So every single one of you in the audience tonight, you have a right to be heard by this body, and you have a right to be respected in this space. This is a public space. So regardless of your age or your gender or your race or your income, you are welcome to be heard by this body. So I'm going to ask everyone to refrain from criticizing others who want to be heard, even if you disagree with them. I'm going to ask you to be respectful of this process and this place, which is a public space where people have a right to be heard by their elected body. So with that, we will move to our public hearings, and we'll start with the very first public hearing tonight, and this is a recommendation from our Housing Advisory Committee under Residential Rental Application Ordinance. And so to start this off, I will turn to our interim city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. So this is a hearing. We introduced it last meeting. Set the hearing for tonight, and I want to be clear about what we're looking for. So we had comments last week about some deficiencies that a person saw in the ordinance. I had a meeting with that group since our last meeting, the Homes for All group, and really appreciated their forthrightness and the discussion that we had, and pledged to continue to work with them. So what I'd like to do is have our hearing today, get more comment, and it's scheduled to come back before us on July 10th, which we've already scheduled. And so if If we have more consensus about the ordinance at that time, that's great, we can move ahead and you can be the judge of that. If we don't, then I would expect you to postpone it until we do. So, so we're committed to working on this with Homes for All and with other stakeholders as well.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, Commissioner?
For Eric. If between now and July 10th, after meeting and hearing public comment tonight, there's substantial change to the ordinance as it's written, is there a need for another public comment, or does it go as amended?
I think we can bring it as amended. So.
Yeah. I'll defer to our city attorney to be sure, but my understanding is that when it comes back to us at COW, we can recommend amendments and we'll vote on each amendment and then we can vote on the full bill or ordinance. Is that accurate? No, for the rental application ordinance. So if we hear public comment and then it'll be referred back to COW, at COW we can make recommended amendments and then we'll vote on each amendment and then we would take the full amended ordinance before us. If we wish to have another, we could, I'm sure we could do two things. We could do that and vote, or we could make the revisions and then have another public hearing if we want to. But we can kind of see if there's consensus to move forward with a certain format at that time. Am I right? Okay.
Yeah, my reason for asking is because this has been a long time coming. I don't want to delay it, but I also think there's a need for substantial change in the way that it's written. So I just want to make sure we can keep moving forward.
Yeah. I think quite a few of us around this table feel that way. So tonight is an opportunity to hear public comment on that, and then we can make recommended changes.
Yeah.
So if you are here tonight to be heard on this ordinance, which is related to the residential rental application, now's an opportunity to come forward. Same rules apply, so we ask that you come up to this podium. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. We ask that you say your name and the city that you live in, and then also be sure to sign that clipboard up there so that our city clerk can get your name correct. All right, and I'll open up this public comment period.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. Clay Powell from Rental Property Owners Association. We had the pleasure of sitting with the Housing Advisory Commission for several meetings and discussing various topics around affordable housing, this being one of those. I also had the opportunity to meet twice with the Housing for All folks to discuss their concerns. And through all of those discussions, it seemed like the real issue was not the cost of the fees that some people have mentioned, but rather understanding why someone is turned down through the rental application process. And we kind of figured out part of that process failed when a rental property owner did not provide the screening criteria up front. So someone would know in advance whether or not they personally felt like they met the screening criteria. So that is in the ordinance, requires that disclosure up front. Another piece also says that if a rental property owner were to reject an applicant that's not part of the screening criteria, that would be a violation of this particular ordinance as well. Another piece that we saw that was frustrating in terms of the cost that folks associate with the application process is what happens to my money when someone else gets the rental unit but they haven't screened me yet. Well, there's nothing in place to say what does happen with that. Typical standard practices is that property owner or property management company returns any unused funds for application fees. But this ordinance would require the return of those funds if someone is rejected or they have not been rejected, but they haven't even got to the process of being screened yet. We return those funds. So we felt like this is a fair way of addressing the concerns that we heard from the Housing for All folks without impacting affordable housing issues for everybody. That was a real concern of ours when we were talking about this ordinance in general. Is it a perfect ordinance? Probably not. It probably could use tweaking. We're willing and open to work with the Housing for All folks and others over the next several weeks to try to get this in a situation where it seems like it works for everybody. So we appreciate your time. We'd love to consider the ordinance as is, because a lot of forethought went into this. We spent several meetings with the city staff and tweaking it and getting it where we thought it would work. We believe it does, but we're also willing to work on it in the future. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Joyce Daniels. I live in Grand Rapids, and I am up here to speak about the application fee. Several of the things that were initially set up for this, we worked with Homes for All. We worked to try to get some things completed so that it would be fair. What we really would like to push for is no application fee. Why should the people have to pay to be able to help a landlord supply their business? That's their business. So I'm coming from back in the day where I didn't have to pay an application fee because I had good credit. I didn't have to worry about paying a deposit because I had good credit. Now it doesn't matter. And if there's 50 people applying for a house, and that house has 3 bedrooms, and that landlord says, I need $50 from each person, and 50 people apply, you do the math. Where does that money go? And I know the gentleman that was up here, and it's Homes for All, that's the name of our group, said that we would hope that the money would go back and those people would know. That's not the case. So I just would like to reiterate that. And to say that it's important for people not to have to spend all their income just trying to get a place to live. They're already paying to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. All right, others who wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Michael Lucas, and I live in Grand Rapids. I've been living here for like 4.5 years, and throughout the time, I've come across application fees as well, and there's been a struggle as well with getting a place to stay. And as my mom stated, they check for your credit and what happens with it and like how things go, but there seems to be like denial as far as like trying to find a place to stay. And so I agree with her that there should be no application process as far as like a place that you're trying to live with, where you're trying to live.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Hi, my name is LaDonna Norman. I'm a community advocate in Grand Rapids. I'm here to speak about the application fees. You know what's happening. You've turned a blind eye. You assured me in October of 2017, Mayor Bliss, that you would get rid of those application fees. And you're right, Mr. Allen, we've waited far too long. The damage is done. Families are displaced. The level of integrity, I don't even know how you guys can keep throwing that word out, because you use more on bids than you do the people that matter here. If we all matter, then we all should be treated equally, and that hasn't happened. In the last 3 years, I've never paid an application fee. I'm gonna speak from LaDonna's point of view. I've never paid an application fee. I've come up here for 3 years. I've made myself sick. Grand Rapids Homes for All, they do a good job, but they don't speak for me or my community, okay? And I think it's really bad that we voted for you and you see the problem, you know what's going on, you see the damage, and then you sit up here and you want us to say something for 3 minutes. 3 minutes cannot begin to explain the damage that has been created. There's nothing left. We got a little mini Chicago. We got a little space where black people can be. And Juneteenth being held in a gentrified area. We got Cinco de Mayo being held in a gentrified street. You just keep insulting us. And I say no to application fees because that's what you told me, Mayor Bliss, in October 2017. You said no. You didn't say I think about it. You didn't say I had to take it to a committee. You said no. I want you to live by your word because that makes you a liar. And I don't want to think that my mayor is a liar. And I don't want to think that I come down here for my health. And I've come down here when I was very, very ill. And I represented my community and I've represented it well. But it's unacceptable how you guys sit here and act like you don't know. I mean, I even, bought some Narcan because some of you show signs of drug use. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. Come on, this is ridiculous. Honor what you said, Mayor Bliss. And no to the fees. And David Allen, I'm asking you to walk out with the bang and say no to the fees too.
Thank you, LaDonna.
Thank you.
All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Hey, my name is Ben Kaiser. I'm a resident of Grand Rapids, and I'm also with Homes for All. I'm excited that this ordinance is finally being brought to a public hearing. I'm a social worker that connects people experiencing homelessness with housing resources, and through this work, I've seen a lot of disgusting practices when it comes to application fees, and the protections in this ordinance that this ordinance intends to bring are important to some of our most vulnerable citizens and all of us renters alike. While the intentions are good, this ordinance needs to be written much stronger to have its intended effect. Firstly, this ordinance would be much stronger if it banned application fees outright. Application fees should be absorbed as a cost of doing business. Application fees lead to further housing disparities, especially during a housing crisis, as higher income earners can afford to apply for a much larger number of apartments. Application fees drain the resources of our citizens who are barely getting by and lead to further fiscal insecurity and discrimination. Access to fair and affordable housing should be a basic human right. Paying high fees, even to apply for access, will always lead to disparities. Our city is struggling enough with inequality as it is. I do like that in this policy the landlord has to disclose the criteria used to judge applications. This saves time and precious resources of lower income applicants. It lets people make informed choices about where to spend their money and keeps people from applying to apartments that would never accept them. If you have a felony, you will not have to empty your pocketbook on apartments that have no intention of accepting you. I also like that the landlord must return your fee if someone qualifies before they screen you, but I would like to see something written into this law that requires the landlord to disclose when they've accepted an applicant upon the request of someone who's been denied, so that they can know when they're denied, if they're denied after the landlord accepts an applicant. This ordinance would be much stronger if it required the landlord to provide a receipt with the actual cost of the background check, so that the applicants can verify landlord claims of what background check costs. I've had clients charged upwards of $100 for an application fee, and I would love to know exactly what kind of bougie background check you can get for $100. Landlords should have to disclose the services used to provide a background and credit checks so that you can follow up and find out why you were denied. If this ordinance is to be enforced only by the applicants reporting offending landlords, then applicants should have all the information they need to know if they are being taken advantage of. The penalties of landlords who do not follow this ordinance are laughable, with no charge being brought against them for their first offense and smaller charges thereafter. By drafting this ordinance in the first place, the city is acknowledging that citizens are being taken advantage of by predatory practices. Why not give this ordinance some teeth to address the problem? Lastly, whichever draft of this ordinance may pass, the right it gives citizens should be required to be attached to all applications within the city so renters can be informed of the rights they have in Grand Rapids. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello.
Welcome.
I am Tabitha Williams. I am also a community advocate, and I also support Homes for All and Parents for Healthy Homes. I am in the Grand Rapids area. I'm speaking in regards of the rental application ordinance, and one thing's for sure, landlords guarantee to rent their property. But there's zero guarantee that those seeking renters will get that property. So taking that money and up to $100 is taken from, and I'm representing low income, that's taken from other areas in their lives. They're already facing homeless situations or stress, and that's taking food from their mouths, from our children's mouths. That's bringing on more stress. And people appreciate more when they feel like they're being in fair situations. And when we speak of fair housing, can you consider providing, some of the renters providing their own screening? If it's current. What about an explanation, as he said, why I'm not being approved? And if I'm not approved, can the money be returned as fast as it was received? Why do they have to wait 30 to 60 days to get that money back when they had the money right then? And then it's an invasion already. You get information from them, but they do not receive any information on that landlord. We do not get a background check on them. We don't get to know what the house even has in it. Some of these houses are lead and we're poisoning our children, but we have to pay up to $100 per person. So that means if I have a disabled son that cannot speak for himself, I still have to pay the application fee when I'm representing him. That's not fair. That's not fair housing. So I'm just saying, consider what fair housing really means. And that's just one thing. And then I just feel like the landlords have benefited enough. This already been around for years. We need to ban the fees, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Good evening. My name is Tom Worm, and I'm a citizen of Grand Rapids. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing this ordinance up to a public hearing. As a renter, I'm happy that the city intends to protect its citizens from these discriminatory and predatory application fees. But before this ordinance comes to a vote, I would like to ensure that it outlines 6 items. First of all, landlords should disclose the criteria used to judge applications. Renters need to be able to know how a landlord judges their prospective tenants. Secondly, ban, cap, or limit the fees to only what it costs landlords to run a background check. Third, provide a receipt to prove that they ran a background check. Renters need to know, this would give the renters information that they need to know if they're going to report a landlord for not following the criteria. Fourth, return your fee if somebody qualifies for an apartment or rental property before you do. Fifth, disclose the services used to provide background and credit checks so you can follow up to figure out why you were denied. This gives renters additional information that they need to help them in future housing searches. And 6, stronger penalties for landlords who overcharge or fails to disclose the source of screenings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jamin Short, and I live in the 2nd Ward of Grand Rapids. I'm here as well to speak about the rental application ordinance tonight. This is something that's been on my radar for a while, and so I'm excited to see it up here and things to be moving forward with it. I recognize that a lot of people put a lot of time and work into this, so I just want to thank you all for that. This ordinance is incredibly important, and we all know it, and that's why we need to spend more time on it. Where it is right now, it's just too weak, and I have a really hard time seeing this result in any meaningful change. You need to do a lot more. It needs to put more accountability on property owners while also protecting the rights of the applicants, the people applying for the homes. And here's how you can do this. And I'm going to list a lot of the same stuff that you've heard already by a lot of smarter people, but I believe in repeating things to let them stick. The first is to require all property owners to display the criteria on which they will judge applications. Next is to ban, or at the very least cap, application fees to cover only the cost of a background and credit check, and then require landlords to give a receipt for this, proving that they actually ran the required checks. Application fees should not be a source of profit for landlords. Next is to require landlords to provide an answer for why an applicant is rejected. People need to know and not just be left in the dark. Next is if a landlord picks a qualified applicant, they should be required to return all fees paid by applicants after that point. And finally, you need to create a stronger system for penalizing landlords who break these rules. For the landlords who overcharge or those who don't communicate with applicants, this should be a serious offense. The penalties outlined in the current ordinance, these tiny little fines, they don't do anything. Give it some teeth and make it serious. I fully support all the ideas behind the ordinance, but it needs to be a lot stronger. You have an opportunity here to make a change that could bring about immediate results. Applying for a home is an incredibly vulnerable process, and for those in our community who are the most vulnerable, it could be the difference between another night on the street or having a safe and stable place to go. If you have any questions, the lovely people at Homes for All can answer more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Hi, welcome.
Hello, my name is Samika Pickens. I'm from Grand Rapids, 49507 area code area. And pretty much repeating everything everyone else has said regarding the fees. I understanding the weeding out of the people or whatever for the fees of who they feel is a bad tenant or a negative tenant. However, but they come with all these fees. It's not, to me, it's not just the fees for the application. I have an application right here. And on this application, we have to pay a $40 application fee per adult. Now, as someone else stated, if that child is disabled, that means they don't work, they don't do anything. They don't have a criminal history, anything of that nature, but they still want to run a background check, which is going to come back inconclusive. So that's $40 just down the drain, $80 really for both the adults. Now this fee also on here is administration fee. What is that? What is the administration fee? Now you're just adding fees. Then there's a $100, $150 cleaning fee. So I understand if they leave it trash, you keep the deposit already, right? But if I clean up behind myself, now you have my $150, $80, plus a $100 fee. Then I still have to pay deposit plus moving. That's ridiculous. That's totally ridiculous. Right now, I'm a displaced worker. I get $321 every week from unemployment. I have to move. I can't afford 3 times the rent. Add that up. That's not most rent for a 3-bedroom around here. Right now, my 3-bedroom is $11.75. Right now, to move, I have to pay. I already done paid. I don't know how much application fees. This is ridiculous. On the 16th, me and my 2 kids have to move out of our place, but we still haven't found anywhere because we keep paying all these application fees. Just yesterday, I went to view the house. It was 5 people there to view that house. So all of us have to pay these application fees, and we don't see, it's non-refundable. And we can't fight it because it's in black and white. This is ridiculous. We need you all. You all are supposed to stand up for us. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Samika.
Hi, my name is Martha Cooper. I'm from Grand Rapids. This has been really tough. I have been speaking for people on the street. We've been out canvassing, and in that canvassing, I'm hearing other people's stories. I know that a few of the women came here today, and I think the last one especially made it extremely plain what's really going on. When we're canvassing, I hear stories about landlords raising the rent $200. There's no rent control. And I've spoken before, so I will, because I also believe in repeat. When people are under the gun, it's so incredibly stressful, and they are spending these outrageous fees, and so then they have to wind up going for other help, or they just quit looking. And we've got people running into each other. Ran into a woman that had 5 people living there. She told me, when we were having a community action meeting, that she had her father-in-law who lost a HUD certificate, and that is so crucial when a person can't find a place within 2 months and they lose that. That is the kind of homelessness you can't get up from, you know, because if you're living on disability, you've got $750, and we've already been talking about people living in hotels. Those people don't have money. Even, I don't know if you guys get it, but homelessness is kind of expensive. You don't have a place to cook. Okay, really. So one of the things I want about this ordinance is I want it ironclad if there is any fee at all. And I don't want the person that's in a vulnerable situation to be the one where that's the onus is on them to go, you know, fight for their fee back. Right now, if a landlord, you're supposed to get your deposit back in 30 days, and if they determine that this or that, and they don't have much accountability. If they don't return all of your deposit, you have to fight them. So I'm just asking you to ban the fee altogether. It was insulting to me to hear the Housing Commission guy get up and talk about making a program. We've already seen a ton of programs that really do nothing to house people or help people. All of those programs are doing is taking in money and looking like they're helping people, but we need real help. And one thing you can do now is very simply just ban this. Like I said, they are raising the rent on people because they can, because there's nowhere to go. And I'm not telling lies. I'm telling the truth. We shouldn't be sending people to get money from the taxpayers because these people have already given it to a landlord that is not short on profits. That's not happening in our city.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Hello, I'm Jolanda Howe, and I'm from the Crescent neighborhood, 49505. And Taylor and I are going to share what we have to say, so she'll go next. I'm also from Grand Rapids Homes for All, and I wonder too if there's people in the crowd who aren't going to stand tonight who would want to, who aren't going to speak tonight, but who would want to stand in support of an ordinance that's strong that protects residents from paying outrageous fees and being denied without being told why. If people would like to stand as we speak, you're welcome to stand so that people know, so the commission and mayor knows that you're here for this purpose.
Yep, you're welcome to stand if you're here in support.
Thank you. So we wanted to just let you know what we've been doing related to the to these ordinances. We've scheduled 3 community meetings throughout May and June, one in each ward. 2 have already happened, and 1 is on Thursday night in the first ward. We wanted to get the word out about the rental application ordinance and the Affordable Housing Community Fund, and hear what residents of each ward are experiencing and the ideas they have for change. From those who were willing to share, we've collected stories, which we will submit to you, and we've also knocked on nearly 2,000 doors. Sadly, many people don't answer their doors. Asking residents to sign a letter to urge you to pass an ordinance that will protect residents from excessive rental fees and from being denied without being told why. We will submit the 188 signatures we've collected so far tonight, and we'll send you what we gather at our remaining meeting on Thursday. Here's what we've heard. We've heard that rental application fees are a barrier to housing, that extend the length of the search for housing and increase the chance that a couple, family, or individual will experience homelessness. We've met too many people who have spent hundreds of dollars in application fees before finally securing housing, and too many people who have yet to find a place to live. We've heard about the challenge of finding out why you've been denied and submitting requests, including submitting requests by writing within a certain amount of time and receiving responses in writing weeks later at a residence you no longer live at. For people living on a limited income, the cost of application fees adds up quickly, leading to fewer opportunities to apply for housing within the window of time before you lose housing. This is the contributing factor to displacement and homelessness in our city. It is leading kids and families to squeeze into apartments of a relative or friend, putting that family member under a lot of stress and in jeopardy of losing their home for violating their lease. So let me share what we want. As a result of these conversations with residents, we want to see you pass an ordinance that will prevent... Oh, I'm going to stop here and let Taylor continue.
Thank you, Ms. Howe.
So my name's Taylor Musil, and I am a resident at 1165 Hall Street. And we, as Grand Rapids Homes for All, as a result of what we've heard from residents, we ask you to pass an ordinance that will, first of all, prevent landlords and property management companies from profiting from application fees. We ask for a ban on the fee, or at the very least, a cap or a limit on the fee to only what it costs property managers and to landlords to run a background check and credit check. And the last thing is about accountability, and that there's penalties for landlords and property management companies that overcharge and fail to disclose the source of screening. And we ask that this ordinance require landlords and property management companies to disclose in writing on the application the criteria used to judge the applications and indicating which criteria, if unmet, will result in denial. Disclose in writing and on the application the applicant's right under the new ordinance so they know if they're being wronged. Disclose the services used to provide background and credit checks so that you can follow up to find out why you were denied. Provide an itemized receipt to prove that a background check was administered and that the cost matched the application fee, and to return the fee within 30 days of the time you applied in the form that applicants choose, and if someone qualifies before your application is screened, or if you are denied for a reason that is not indicated on the criteria. And so for us, you may wonder why it matters, why we're asking for a full ban on the rental application fees when this ordinance will already result in most applicants getting their money back. And for us, that's because this is the only way to ensure that the money stays in the hands of the people who need it most, and that everyone in our city has equitable access to apply for apartments that are on the market. And it's important to be honest about the purpose of these application fees. They're a source of profit for predatory landlords, but for all landlords, they cover a range of costs to screen a person's credit score, rental history, and criminal background. So we know that after some research that we found application fees, or that application checking people's backgrounds can take anywhere from $10 to $50 for a landlord, and it depends on how thorough the screening agency is. So that means the deeper a landlord feels they have to dig into someone's information and background, the more expensive that fee is. And so we've heard a lot of stories from people, especially people of color, people with lower income, and people who are coming out of homelessness, that they are the ones that have to go through the extensive and expensive application process compared to white applicants, because landlords want to dig deeper, and it's based in discrimination. And so we see that these application fees can be misused as tools for discrimination, and that a strong rental application ordinance with proper enforcement will set a high standard for the rental application process and will address this injustice. So we need every landlord in this city to follow these standards, because we can't afford to spare any apartments that could be a good fit for people who are searching for affordable housing in this tight market.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. All right, others who wish to be heard? Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Make sure we get a copy. Thank you. We'll make sure that the full commission gets a copy of both of these items.
Jim Howe, Crescent Neighborhood, Grand Rapids Homes for All. I'm not going to repeat what I said last week. I'm sure you guys could look up the minutes for that great token of wisdom I shared. But after sitting through a portion of tonight's meeting, there was a lot of conversation about the process. That made me wonder, what is the process for this? How is there one seat at the table and it's filled by the Rental Property Owner Association? Why wasn't there more community engagement? Why wasn't the seats at the table for renters who this ordinance is meant to protect? I mean, even in the verbiage on your slide, it says use this version. I've never seen that before up there, that we had to clarify in all caps, this one, choose this one. Tonight, Mayor Bliss, Commissioner Allen alluded to major changes happening. How is that the process? How is it that you guys weren't ready for the ordinance that came before you, and that there has to be major changes after public hearing? Those things I would like to have looked into, especially why there weren't more renters and people that are affected, that are being affected by this ordinance, to be there discussing it, because it came from the Housing Advisory Board, which had a lot of good nonprofit companies on it, businesses on it. But if it's going to be trimmed, and if things are going to be taken out of it that protect our citizens, our residents of Grand Rapids, I would hope that they have more of a voice than the 3 minutes tonight, because as you could see from the people that came tonight and the 40-some people that stood up, there's voices that weren't heard in this process. And let's make sure they're heard before we pass the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Russell Olmsted, West Side, Grand Rapids. I want to lend my voice to support everything that everyone's been saying this evening. This ordinance, as it's written right now, obviously is there's nothing to it that really makes any regulation to it. It actually opens up a lot of areas to where protecting the landlords in how it's worded. By not limiting what or defining what a application is. They could put anything in there, and there's nothing to stop it from being for profit. Now, I'm not saying that landlords should not be making a profit in renting homes. Of course they should, but it's a business. But this is one area that should be outside of that. If they want to make more money off of a background check, they could be rolling that into a rental charge if they wanted to, but they aren't. They're putting it in an application fee because they have protection in doing it that way, and that's because we're allowing it. I would love to see it banned, but if it's not banned, a cap on it of reasonable rate, which landlord could get together to even discuss with the community on what they need to have proper background checks. The other portion that's a huge issue for me is the oversight for complaints and going to the city manager's department. There's no outline of how that system is going to work. There's nothing there. So it doesn't say, it doesn't outline any sort of timeline or who's going to be taking care of it. And it puts so much onus on the citizen who has been wronged rather than protecting them from being wronged. And there's a huge opportunity here to protect them from being wronged. And lastly, I would very much encourage when you do bring this back to the table, before you vote on it, once you've added amendments and hopefully anyways added amendments to this, to have another public meeting with the community, to give them an opportunity to digest the changes. I think that would be good for transparency. It would be good for allowing the citizens one more chance at input, and allow you to get feedback on the changes before you just decide. So, thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Russ. Hi, welcome.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Rose. I live in the Creston neighborhood, and I'm a victim of economic development that happened up on Fairview Avenue. And I understand, I'm not against economic, advancement and activity, but there's not much provision made for those of us who were displaced by the condo that were going up. And none of us were in the position to buy them at the price they want for them. So I understand having recent experience with searching for, rent. And when I looked before, rental fees were virtually like hen's teeth. There were very few, and I never had to deal with one. And even understanding the landlord's position of you want to make sure people who are abiding in your facility into your dwellings won't wreck the place and are good bets as far as paying. I understand that. But why can't then they have something like a Carfax thing? Once the landlord does a screening or whatever, it's like, that goes, you get a copy of it. And then you can take that to any other landlord and say, here, this has already been done. I don't have to be charged a fee. So, to me, if we were going to have a fee, which I'm not necessarily in favor of, I'm with the amen chorus here as far as getting rid of fees would be the ideal. But even if you had fees, if you could at least have the documents transferred, just have to pay once. You don't have to pay every time you get a credit check. You get a credit check, you can take that with you to your landlord or whatever, your W-2 or whatever. You don't have to get one each time. So to me, that would solve the problem. And I hope you also do, as I suggested, put teeth into the ordinance, because it's without, enforcement and some sort of, teeth in the law, then it's not going to really accomplish what we are all hoping it will accomplish. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Paul. Good to see you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Marty Green, and I own a company that invests and also manages over 1,000 units in the area. But I got to say, as I'm listening to people, I'm really saddened to hear the abuse of application fees. It's disheartening. I do feel as an investor that we need to recoup our costs, but I also think we need to be responsible in what we provide to tenants when they come in and want to apply. I think we need to tell the tenants, and I think this is really important, what the criteria is so that they know what they're applying for. I think a lot of times what I'm hearing is that people are just accepting applications willy-nilly, and I think it's just, that's too bad. We try to we let everyone know what our criteria is, and then if they don't meet it, we tell them not to apply. If they're, then we can't get into people's heads, so we don't know if they're telling us the truth or not. So if they still decide to apply, then there is a fee to cover our costs. And there is time and energy that goes into that. My concern is that if fees are waived, landlords will find a way to get it back, and that would mean raising rents, etc. I think the more important part would be being clear and concise about what a person is applying for and the criteria that is expected from them if they're going to apply at a particular property. And if landlords aren't doing that, shame on them, because not everybody does qualify. And I think, again, there's a cost for doing the criminal background check and the credit history and everything. But once it's set, it should be, I guess, left alone and executed the appropriate way. So I would just say take that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Hi. Hi.
Hello,
Welcome.
my name is Michelle Beverly, and I live in Grand Rapids. I've been staying here for a while now, but I'm not originally from Grand Rapids. I just feel like with the application fee, I feel like it also should be banned, because it's like when we sign the application, it's like giving your resume. So that's like telling an employer that they can charge us if we want to work at their job. That's the same thing. I want to live in your house, so you charging me to give you my resume, basically, because that's all the application is your resume, things about yourself. So why would y'all feel that the landlord should profit off of that? That's just saying I work at the mobile gas station. My boss, Eli, that's that he should be able to charge his employees to come bring the resume. Then he get to choose out of all these people who brung their resume and paid their application fee, who he wants to stay there. That's not fair. He already have a business. He's already making money. Why do he have to make more money on top of that? And I'm a person been looking for somewhere to stay for over a year now. And I've inquired so many application fees. Maybe if y'all can put like a pre-approval with this, because like I know at Baker's Loft, before you sign your application and have to pay your application fee, you do a pre-application. And if you don't get approved for your pre-application, then there's no reason to even go on with the application fees and the process with the criminal background check and a credit check. Don't take me, and then you still can get denied after that, but that's giving me a fair fight by saying, okay, you met this criteria, now let's see if you meet this criteria, but now you have to pay. So if that even can be done, just a pre-application, because some people do it, like I know Baker's Loft, like I said, they do it. And it is hard, like really, really hard with me being and when they give you an explanation, it need to be in layman's term, not in this legal mumbo jumbo, Title 5, Section 3.3, and now I got to get on my phone and Google what this means, because I don't even know. You can tell me they give me the explanation, but I don't know what that explanation means. Now I got to look up the explanation, and some people ain't that smart to know how to look up this explanation. So we can be up here fighting like, I want the explanation. All along they've been giving us the explanation that we don't even understand. It's just not fair at all, not fair to none of us. It ain't even got to be low income, poverty people. If you even got the money, that don't mean you just got to spend it just because you got it. It's not fair to us as a community, us as a nation, not just low income and people of poverty and color and minority and all that. It's just us as humans that this shouldn't be allowed to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Hi, John Rothwell, Northeast Side, 2nd Ward. I'm a member of the media. I consider myself a citizen journalist. I am not working for any major paid paper right now, but I do report on a lot of things as myself for the blog. I am a retired college student, so I'm getting double whammied on the income things. And I pay for a service for my investigative reporting. I can run a background check on anyone in this room if I know their name for $39 a month. And it's pretty damn good with a credit report and every type of thing in history. What are the landlords paying? The gentleman before us, not to just single it out, but he said they manage 1,000 properties. I'm sure they don't push the $19.95 one-time fee every time. I'm sure they have, and I'm assuming they have a yearly subscription to some kind of background check, and how much are they paying on that? It's minimal. Like I said, I can afford on my income a background credit check service for my own personal media work, and just wanting to let you know that this stuff is relatively cheap in my eyes to do. So, you know, I'm against, if there's a fee, it's got to be very minimal. My wife came from Chicago, and 5 years ago she was paying $25 for a background check, and it was capped at that. So, I mean, this is Grand Rapids. We're not Chicago yet. So, our parking rates are getting that way, but thanks.
Thanks, John. So does that mean you've done background checks on all of us?
Wouldn't you like to know?
No comment. Hi, welcome.
Good evening. Robert Metzger. I'm actually from East Grand Rapids, but I spend the majority of my time at 312 Prospect Avenue, northeastern Grand Rapids. Something just occurred to me in listening and looking at the process and in trying to help, because it is silly for the same process to be repeated redundantly, when if there could be a depository for that so that somebody could kind of pay for those fees for themselves up front. I'm not sure the city is the right place for that. Perhaps one of the housing groups that's represented tonight, or perhaps even the Rental Property Owners Association might participate in a partnership. But certain things are valid for a certain shelf life, and why not take advantage of those so that people only pay the cost once, if there is going to be a cost. At least they know what it is, it's transparent, and everyone can have access to it. Again, if you are given the access by signature. Certain things can't be done. Landlords have to follow up on employment verification themselves. Like I said, I'm not sure it's something the city wants to participate in because of social security numbers, things of that nature. But if we can remove the redundancy from the process, I think there'd be a great advantage to that. And I can't speak for all landlords, but rejecting somebody and then charging them for it isn't really treating people with the golden rule, in my opinion, and that's not representative of Grand Rapids. Outside of that, kudos for the commission for putting up with all of us and listening to these matters, because some of us have a broad view of where these problems were created. It's 25 years ago in the making, and you're doing your very best to solve problems you didn't create. So I'd like to give you an attaboy and an attagirl for taking the time and spending the effort and realizing that not all of us blame you. You may feel that way because you're sitting on the other side of the desk, but some of us know where the blame lies, and that's a longer conversation. We won't waste the time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Wow. I came prepared for what was on the agenda, and I have to throw that away. I would just like to, my name is Russ Vanentorn. I represent several hundred homes in Grand Rapids and own several homes in Grand Rapids. And I heard a tremendous amount of misconception tonight. It takes a management company conservatively $75 to $100 to check every application. We have an underwriter, that's all they do. And that underwriter has to be paid. Their phone has to be paid. The electricity has to be paid. I already hear people saying they don't believe me. You got to understand, it costs a lot to run a business in Grand Rapids. So I just want you to understand, landlords, and we represent landlords all over the world actually that invest in Grand Rapids, Michigan, they make between 7 and 10% on their money. So let's say we have a $1,000 rental. How much are they making a month? How much? $70. Is that going to pay for 3, 4, 5, 6 applications? It can't. It's just plain dollars and cents, unfortunately. I think what Grand Rapids has done is created a fantastic city, and I appreciate everything that you guys done, but it has created some issues too that you're dealing with right now. And I sympathize with all these people that have spoken. I'll just give you one example. We rent to a lot of Section 8, a lot of them. We have a Section 8 person that the police showed up at her door. There was no charges. The only thing there was a police report. Section 8 is pulling her benefits. No charges, no nothing. But because the police showed up there, they're pulling their benefits. We are working very hard, not only with Section 8, but we've climbed the ladder with HUD and so on and say, this doesn't make sense. Why are you pulling this from her? No one can give us a good answer. No one can give us documentation, including HUD, of why they should be pulled. But somebody at Section 8 just said, oh, that's our policy. So I think Grand Rapids needs to work closer with the Section 8 team. We would love to rent to more of those. Section 8, unfortunately, has some serious issues that I don't know how they're going to get over. So, man, I'll go through that 3 minutes and real quick, right? But the redundancy of the applications, if somebody gets denied once and they know why, don't go applying at 15 other places, because if you have a felony or been evicted, it's going to be the same all over. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. All right, others who wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Chandra Hines, and this is my first time at one of these meetings. I'm usually in Lansing, but I am an advocate for our neighborhood, and my main thing is that I just recently had this happen to me 2 years ago, and it's a good example. My landlord came in and just sent me a letter in the mail saying, your rent has went up $150 out of nowhere. Didn't even know if I had it or not, because she told me that the market value in Grand Rapids has went up. Okay, my question is, okay, I looked online, tried to find it. I need proof. Where's the proof that the market value has went up so I have to pay more out of rent that I possibly didn't have? Another thing is, let's be clear, we have a very high poverty rate here. People where is 3 times the rent coming from? You have to have a degree and a good job to make 3 times the rent. So if your rent is $800, they want you to pay 8 times 3 on top of deposit and a cleaning fee that is not our responsibility before we move into the apartment. That is the landlord's responsibility. And as far as the application fee that the gentleman has said it does cost to do a lot of filing and stuff, well, that's a pro and con there with me. Prove it to me. Since you always want to come at me with black and white, show me black and white. Because if you show me the right things that I need to come forward and pay for, then that's fine. But the moment all these tenant fees, I'm not responsible for the tenant before me. I'm not responsible for any damage that they do with the $125 cleaning fee. And the application fees, let's just be clear, they're very ridiculous. They're outrageously high. You want 3 times the rent, first month's deposit for one. Then you want the application fee. Then you want the cleaning fee. Then you got to pay for the process to move in. If you look at we have raised in our employment here. Employment rates have increased. I will say that. We do have more job openings, but let's be clear. Everyone's still at minimum wage. The human services is still offering assistance to our people. When I was driving down the street, I seen a lady that was homeless in a wheelchair with her dog. Need answers. What are they going to do? Everyone else in the higher value is making money, while the poor stay in the poor and the rich is going to stay rich. We need to make this clear. If you want your city to grow, it starts with the people. And it starts by being truthful and honest, not getting over on people that don't even have it. So the next step is remove the fee, or what you can do is you can make it where it's affordable. If people can't afford it, it's waived immediately. If you got money like that, can afford it, put it out there then. But we need to know where all these fees are coming from. We need to know about this property tax. We need to understand about the market value increase in Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids cities and roads are so bad, I didn't even know that market value increased. So at the end of the day, where's the market? No, the market value is in the communities that put money into their county. That's where the market values increase. Yes, I live in Walker, I do. That's a different district. But however, I work in Grand Rapids, and I'm not seeing the change that needs to become. Our people are suffering out here, and everybody's sitting here eating caviar. I need answers.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, I'm Katie. I live in Grand Rapids. I just wanted to make a couple of comments regarding the gentleman that spoke before this woman. He mentioned that it does cost money to do the background checks, which I understand. He also mentioned that he owns multiple houses in Grand Rapids and obviously makes a profit off of his business. These people that are looking to rent from him probably don't have as much money as he does, so he should probably use the money that he gets from running his business to pay for the background checks. The people that are renting from him are obviously just looking for affordable housing, and they shouldn't be responsible for that fee since he's the one that's running the business and he's the one that wants to make the profit and wants to rent to people. Second of all, the last thing that he mentioned was if you are denied for an application, you shouldn't go applying to 15 other places just so that you can be denied there if you know why you were rejected. So what do you suggest that they do? They go nowhere, they live on the street. If they're not going to be looking places, they're not going to have a place to live. So I think it's very important for these people to have choices and have options because, like someone mentioned, having a place to live is kind of a basic human right. So I think it's our responsibility to do something about that if it's a problem for the people that live here. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this public hearing? Mr. Miller, you're coming up.
What's Miller back? Most of the RPOA people are coddled by the Headley. Why not index all these price, I'm talking market rate increases on Headley? They're pampered and coddled by Headley, and I say go back 5 years, roll back to the market rates to what they were 5 years ago, or have them pay without Headley on the property taxes. Second, illegal is illegal, you know. A substantial number of people here are illegal. This is the only municipality in our county out of 30 or something, which coddles illegal aliens. If they were not here, the market rate would go way down on apartments and bidding on housing. I was, after my military, I was over in Europe for 7 years, but I always maintained legal status. You know. Next, coming up later, we'll be discussing the veterans' home up there as basic civil right. If we guarantee
Mr. Miller,
400
this is just for the application fees. So
it's
we're gonna.
It's part of this issue. We got 400 as a civil right. Let's keep 400 homes, put in 400 single rooms up there at 30 Monroe and Coit and so on, okay? It's a part of this issue of the housing crisis. If you can't house veterans up there, then it's going to create more problems and increase the market rate for everyone else. So let's use that property effectively as part of this housing crisis issue. Next, a freeze. During World War II, in Chicago, the rents were not only controlled, but I think frozen as well throughout the war and several years after. It was considered a housing crisis in the late 40s in Chicago. So why not freeze rents back to, say, 5 years when the housing crisis first came to our attention? And we won World War II, so we must have been doing something right, okay? Let's freeze the rents and put the renters in application the same status as the coddled RPOA. So it's been brownfield this and pilot that. They get coddled all over the place. Any rental operation that's received a pilot through here or special considerations, brownfield and so on, any kind of state subsidy, none of this should be going on. We've heard tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this ordinance, this public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close that public hearing, and that'll be referred back to the Committee of the Whole. All right, so next that will take us to our second public hearing tonight, and this is a public hearing to hear appeals on the 2018 Downtown Improvement District Special Assessment Roll Call 8734. So we're going to start this off with information from our assessor's office, and this is specifically for individuals who have been assessed who want to appeal their assessment. So, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Paula Jastifer. I'm the Deputy City Assessor. And this evening, the City Commission is sitting as the Board of Review for the 2018 Downtown Improvement District Special Assessment Roll. The total charges on the Special Assessment Roll are $756,094.58. Charges on the roll consist of both area-wide service charges and snow melt charges. Area-wide service charges include maintenance and beautification, enhanced public safety, marketing, communications, economic development, and administration. So to this date, no appeals have been filed. This evening is the final opportunity to file an appeal. I have applications or appeal forms in room 901 if anybody would like to file an appeal.
Great, thank you, Paula. So this is specific. So this body sits as an appeal body when people have an appeal for an assessment. And so if you're here tonight, and if you have been assessed as a part of the Downtown Improvement District Special Assessment, and you're on this roll of 8734, and you're here tonight to appeal that assessment, this is an opportunity to come forward and be heard. And then, as Paula said, there will be she'll be in room 901 to talk through that appeal. So if you are here tonight, now is an opportunity to come forward if you want us to hear your appeal on this assessment that has been assessed on your property. Okay. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing, and that'll take us to our third public hearing tonight. So this is a public hearing on a proposed major amendment to Special District Planned Redevelopment District at 3019 Coit Avenue Northeast to facilitate the use of the property as a religious institution. And so before we open this up for public comment, I'm going to have Suzanne Schultz, our planning director, come forward and tee this up and inform the commission what we're about to hear. And then if you're here to be heard on this public hearing, I'll give you an opportunity to do that in just a moment.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I feel like I should make you guys all stand and stretch, like of everybody. Had a long day. On May 22nd, you established this as the public hearing date. This request would allow for Sunshine Church to use a building as a church and associated accessory uses to include a child care facility and social service facilities. The facility itself would hold about 400 people for worship. The site's about 3.71 acres. Previously it was zoned, kind of the history on it, it's been a little confusing, which is why we thought a public hearing would be necessary or important for the community. And given that there's been a lot of discussion about the veterans' property in general and a lot of confusion. So this property was originally zoned as R1, which was single-family residential, about 1990. It was rezoned to a planned unit development. During that time, the ordinance included a condition in the PUD, which we call a PRD now, that the use must be limited to a medical clinic associated with the Department of Veteran Affairs, the Michigan Veterans Facility, or a general office uses, non-medical. And so that's been a condition in the PUD. And so that is why it's coming to you to take that off, which would allow for the use of the facility as a church. So Sunshine's requesting to vacate that. The public hearing was held on April 26th by the Planning Commission. They had two residents that spoke against, which were concerned about the property remaining in veteran-related uses. Planning Commission voted 8-1 on the issue, and we do have Sunshine Church here. Pastor Blunt is present if you have any questions, and then we also have Phil Yeiter, who's with the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, and I believe there's also other people from the Vets Agency here as well if there's any questions from the Commission based on your public comment.
Okay.
Or if you want to hear from them now.
Anyone want to hear from them? Okay.
Well, I guess we could hear from them, but I also have a question for you. So since you're here and standing there, I am concerned about the fact, I went to the veterans meeting the other night, and thank you, Phil. I don't know where you are here, but thank you, Phil, for inviting us to that.
Commissioner, can you speak in your mic?
And we had a good turnout, and there were a lot of people who were very pleased that the location on their property has been moved because it's not in the wetlands and the woods, and it doesn't have that issue about the proximity to the neighbor's house. But there is an issue at hand here that I want to ask you about, and it is because Lamberton Street will be used for a year and a half, 2 years, I understand, for staging to build the veterans' facilities, and that will prohibit folks from Sunshine Church from accessing their property, and we would need a curb cut. So what's the status on that, and is Sunshine fully aware of that?
They can certainly request a curb cut along Coit, because it's It backs up, I don't know if we can, yeah, you brought it up, thank you very much. So the current access that you see for the parking lot is along that labyrinthine area. That's actually State of Michigan who owns that. We can't find it as, you know, it's like not an official street. They have an easement, the church has an easement, it's my understanding, to use that currently, or has access points. Certainly, the folks from Veterans Affairs could more accurately respond, because I believe there's been quite a few discussions about that recently. If Sunshine wanted an access point off Coit, that could certainly be facilitated. We'd allow that curb cut.
Okay, I guess I'd like to hear from them and learn what the status is of those conversations with Sunshine.
Good evening. My name is Dan Challa. I'm here representing Sunshine Church. And Commissioner Kelly, I'd just like to respond to that question that you raised. Actually, that area that lies immediately north of and adjacent to the parcel that the church is proposing to purchase is an easement area. It's owned by the state of Michigan. It's subject to a non-exclusive permanent easement for the benefit of this parcel and for the benefit of the state's remaining property. So to the extent that the Veterans Administration or any representative of that agency has indicated to the city in any way that they can shut that access down, that's incorrect unless they were to exercise their power of eminent domain, which I don't think they intend to do. So the church is in a position to talk with them about that and try to determine how we can meet our mutual needs for access for church purposes, and how we can try to help to facilitate their construction project as well. So,
okay.
So to further on that, the church is aware of that. We've looked into it. We've looked into the title, and we're very comfortable that we have the legal access to that property.
And you would not consider a curb cut as an alternative?
We don't need it because we have that access. That Lamberton is a legal easement that we have. It would be very expensive to put in a new drive because there's a grade change there from Coit Avenue into the property.
Yeah.
And the church doesn't have extra money to spend on that type of thing. So we really don't want to do that. But as I say, I think we'd be happy to try to talk with the folks from the agency to see if we can work through some things there. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Great, thank you.
And we have representation from the state. Welcome, Your Honor. Do you want to add?
We do. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the Commission, officers of the city, and staff. My name is James Redford. It is my privilege to be the Director of the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency and to serve Michigan's 608,000 veterans and their families. I did have a chance to meet with Mr. Challa and Mr. Shank beforehand. The main purpose of me being here this evening is to indicate that we are not taking a position on the zoning question. As relates to whether or not there is an easement that is enforceable and applicable, we are having lawyers from the state look at that. We anticipate that we'll continue to have discussions. Since I had the privilege of appearing before the Commission on March 6th, we have had numerous discussions with city residents, with city staff, with elected members of this body, and on April 26th received a letter from DEQ which led to us changing, at least anticipating change of where we would locate the anticipated 128 skilled nursing facility. We're not trying to be obstructionist. We're not trying to get in anybody's way, but we have a very different looking campus in the future than it looks right now, and we will be building, in all likelihood, if we have the authority and approval from all the federal, state, local, and other agencies. I'm not sure what else is necessary. There probably are some that I'm not thinking of, but it looks very different than it did at the southeast or southwest corner of the property. So our lawyers are looking into what is the applicable easement, if it exists. I've read the documents. We are working on it. We're going to be having discussions. I would anticipate our lawyers with my good friend Mr. Shank and with Mr. Challa, and we'll look forward to getting some resolution that's hopefully mutually satisfactory.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Perhaps something about a timeline. What are you thinking in terms of resolving the issue around the easement?
Commissioner Kelly, I do not have a specific timeline. I have asked that we have so many full court presses going on right now, trying to make sure that the $75 million or $68 million that the federal government has provided for veterans housing in Michigan is that we fulfill all of our regulatory and codified responsibilities to get things done by August 1st. I literally was 30 minutes late for this meeting because I was meeting with elected officials in Southeast Michigan about our Southeast Michigan build. So we are at the foot is to the bottom of the floorboard. We are going as fast as we can. It's not as fast as I wish it was, and I hope we're going to have some very clear answers with our legal folks. Right now, the legal folks are looking at another matter related to finalizing the acquisition of a substantial piece that we need to do a $68 million build. So they are not focusing today on this easement. I suspect they'll be looking at it this week, and we're going to be getting it as quick as possible. And knowing Mr. Shank, his friends and fellow church members, I forgot to say I'm in East Grand Rapids, and so is Mr. Shank, I think. But I know he's not going to let my phone stop ringing. So we're going to be working on it diligently together. I am in the chief seats, so.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yes,
that doesn't
ma'am.
matter
Thank
to
you
us
for
here.
all your support.
Yeah, well, we wish you all the best. It's a great project, and we certainly want it here.
Thank you. And we very much appreciate city staff's assistance and support, as well as from the mayor and all the elected officials and the city officers have been tremendous in helping us get to the right place. So.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners?
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor, members.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So if you are here tonight to be heard on this item, you're welcome to come forward. We ask that you share your name and the city that you live in. You don't have to disclose anything else.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gary Schenk. I'm a lawyer. As the judge indicated, we've known one another for years, and we're looking forward to working on it to resolve the easement issue. But the only thing I would ask this body to consider when it's dealing with a church is to deal with that separately from the easement issue. That the two are not related. You might think they are, but if the church says they're satisfied with the state of the title and we're satisfied with the state of the title and we can work something out, it's not going to have any impact at all. And the question is whether that's a worthy project, and we think it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so if you are here tonight to be heard on this item, this rezoning request, or major amendment, I should say, to Special District Plan Redevelopment District at Coit Avenue, you are welcome to come forward. So same rules apply as other public hearings. We ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. So if you're here to be heard on this item, now's an opportunity to come forward.
Hi, I'm Michelle Truskowski from Grand Rapids, and I'm just wondering how that's going to affect the residential portion of this area here, from like say Wright, Coit, that's all little residential homes in through there. Is that going to have any effect on that?
Thank you.
Can you address that?
I'll have others. I'll give other people a chance to come forward and offer comments and questions, and then I'll have Suzanne Schultz, our planning director, come back up and answer any of those posts.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. All right, others who wish to be heard on this request at hand? Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mrs. Scott, and this property has deed restriction on it for a reason. It's to keep the property for veterans. Now, this is your job as a commission to make sure that you hear the public voices. Now, we have a petition right here with over 10,000 signatures. many registered voters want to make sure this building is kept for veterans. I just ask with all of this that you hear their voices. You hear they want to keep it for veterans. Now, this is a lot of people that are concerned about it. And I also ask that there are a couple of groups that are nonprofit that also have been raising money. They would like to see it.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, my name is Josh Blunt, and I live actually in Caledonia, Michigan, but I'm the pastor of Sunshine Church, and I just wanted to take a moment just to make sure you all know that we're very excited about the development of the Veterans Facility, and they're coming closer to the end of the property that we'll be adjacent to. We're very excited to connect with veterans. I appreciate everyone who has concerns to see that the facility is still used for them, and I would just submit that one of the needs that veterans have besides their physical needs is also needs for community and for spiritual support and friendship, and that's one of the things that we would love to provide. And the fact that they'd be moving a little closer to the property we're proposing to buy is exciting to us as long as we can resolve issues with the easement. So thank you for your consideration of this issue, and if there are any other questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? No? Thank you, Josh. All right, others wish to be heard on this request?
Yes, I'm Martha Cooper. I would like to stand with the veterans. I am very concerned, as you know, I usually work with Homes for All, but I think if there's been any agreements that city, state, federal have made with veterans, and if that is indeed in the purpose of the deed of the property, that I would like to see that this property be used for veterans. So I am standing up here tonight because I want the city and to keep, it's like my dad said, keep your deals.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this item?
Hi, this is Joyce Daniels again. I too would like to stand for the veterans. I have a dad who's a veteran. As a matter of fact, a situation came up the other day and he said, well, if things get too bad, you can send me to the veterans home. Of course, I wouldn't do that, but if there's not adequate housing or the situation with the clinic, the clinic's not there now anyway, but it would be nice to have transitional home housing for that, and that it'd be used for the veterans. So I'm standing for them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Good evening, I'm Ed Romero, and I'm a veteran and proud of it. And what you're doing by taking this building away from us isn't right. We went to do our job, and I wish you'd do yours. And we don't need a church there because we have chapels there at the facility right now. So we really don't need a church there. What we need is that building. We can utilize that building for the proper needs of veterans. Remember what we've done for our country. So please stand up for us like we stood up for you to give you freedom. Just like you stood up to say the American Legions. Well, you did because you can afford to, because you're alive. Thank God I got home alive. So please think of the veterans, not of the churches only. You know, like I said, you can go elsewhere. There's other places for churches. You have many places for churches, but this is one building that we should keep for the veterans. This is our home. This is our facility. Don't take it away from us.
Thank you. All right. Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold your clapping.
My name's Albert Rice.
Thank you
I'm a son of a World War II
I
veteran.
just want to make sure other people feel comfortable speaking.
I'm a son of a World War II veteran, and I'm sure if he was here, he would go with the gentleman that spoke to this a few minutes ago. They fought a war over 72 years ago, and I believe they should deserve their place. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hi, John Rothwell, Second Ward again. If this property was indeed to the veterans, it's got to stay with the veterans. I don't know. Let me remind you of the fiasco that took place last summer with the rumors that Guiding Light Mission was going to take over this building right here and put transitional housing in it, and the uproar that that rumor caused to the commission and the city and the neighborhoods. So let's take that into consideration. I believe there's a bus stop there too. What's going to happen to that? You know, I'd like to be able to go down there and park my car and take the bus into the city, since again I can't afford parking down here anymore. And so that's all I've got to say is, if it's the veterans, it should stay the veterans. It's deeded there for a reason. It should stay that way for a reason. And the bus stop needs to stay there if it changes. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I'm gonna really ask you to respect our rules in this space and not clap. And let me explain the reason why we ask people not to clap. I know you may feel compelled to show support for people who are speaking, but we need to make sure that this is a safe space for anyone who speaks, regardless of their opinion, whether you agree with it or not, that they feel safe and respected voicing their opinion. So I'm going to please ask you to just respect the rules that we have. They're listed right on the front of the agenda, because we want everyone, even if they disagree with the person that you were just clapping for, even if they disagree with them, we want them to feel comfortable and respected speaking. So this is a public space and we need to make sure it's a safe place for everyone. So.
Hello, my name is Rosalie Bangma. I live in Belmont, but I'm a member of Sunshine Community Church. And I am really in favor of our church moving to this property. This property has been vacant for many years. If the Veterans Facility wanted to use it, they would have done so by now. The medical clinic that was there moved out because there was not enough space. And I don't believe, I may be wrong, I believe the Veterans Association rented or was given this, they didn't own this property, they used it. I have been making a list of things that our church could do to be an impact in this neighborhood. So far I've come up with about 20, and we have been working with veterans. On Memorial Day, there were 10 of us from Sunshine Church who attended the memorial service with veterans. We pushed veterans to the service. We plan on going do a fishing derby with them in a few weeks. We're going to help them with their carnival in a couple weeks. And there are so many things we can do with this property. We could do a daycare, sports camps. We could have a homework club. We could give piano lessons. We could have art classes. We could do bicycle repair. We could have a finance class. We could have guitar classes. We could have a thrift center. We could have a homeschool site. We could have computers there and help people with resumes if they needed help with that. We could have a library. We could have story time for toddlers. We could have arts and crafts for preschoolers. We can have a MOPS group, Mothers of Preschools. We could do movies for the vets. We could do movies for children. We could help people with back-to-school supplies or clothing for when their children go back to school. There's just such a great impact that our church could make on this community. I don't think we're taking away from the veterans. I think we would be a great asset to them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
My name is Roger Bearbrook. I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War. And there's a lot of soldiers coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of them need help in housing and homelessness and all these other things that the veterans need. I think it should be utilized for that purpose, because I went to a funeral for a veteran that just came back from over east. He committed suicide, and I was an honor guard for his death. And that to me is very sad for a young man of maybe 37, 38, or 39 to take his own life, because he couldn't handle coming back to civilian life of all he's seen overseas in the East. We should be doing more for our veterans that have that problem. And I think this property should be set aside for that. And maybe since we're spending money for, I'm not sure what they're doing over there, but to help those men that are in transition, especially this day and age, coming back from the Middle East, which is far more traumatic than, say, my service in Vietnam. So I'm just really to look at that effect, and that need is not going to go away anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Thank you for your service. All right, others who wish to be heard on this request. Mr. Miller, are you coming forward or not? No. All right, seeing no other public comment, I'm going to close this opportunity. Are you coming up to speak, Mr. Miller? Then come forward. Ed already spoke, so there's one opportunity for public comment per public hearing.
Thou shalt not steal. We heard one witness said what a cool, came down from Belmont and said what a cool use it would be to take the veterans' property, how you can make, well, you can make cool uses of any property, any stolen property, but the fact is, we view it as stolen, and I'll go into our credentials. Now, how was Mr. Redford, is that his name? This was a...
Mr. Miller, why don't you talk to us and share your opinion? I don't want you...
We didn't hear his name plainly, ma'am.
Please don't criticize
You said you were going to respect witnesses, okay? You've been applauded yourself. You welcome applause for your liberal cronies, but when one of the normal people get up there, you know, you cut it short. Even a prayer, I said, the 400 single rooms up there are very helpful to the entire housing crisis. Now, this individual back there this is crude insider dealing. Why was his church bid in it? Why not, for example, the Catholic Diocese, which has 18 parishes around the city? Why wasn't there open bidding on it? Why did he get the church, okay? So I would respectfully request that Madam Attorney investigate this first. And from there, go to the county level, investigate it, and then the state level, and then federal level. This is crude insider dealing. What have we Catholics done? Well, 43% of the last big war, World War II, 43% of the combat deaths were sustained by Catholic America. Why aren't we at the table? Why are we, rudely cut off every chance you get? Going back to the Vietnam War, 29% of the servicemen were Catholic. How do we have great numbers on that? Because when you line up for the dog tag, first and second day in the military, there's a guy sitting at the desk and asks, what's your religion? They need it for your dog tag, okay? First question, are you Catholic, yes or no? If you say no, then are you Jewish? No. Third question is, no question. They stand Protestant. But we know what Catholics have contributed, and why can't we use that for, we need 400 single rooms up there with no curtains in that entire area, which was needed for veterans. And we consider it a veterans area. Every single war, we've been way over our figures. Civil War, go back to the Revolutionary War. The majority of soldiers for General Washington were of Irish heritage. I don't know for sure if they were Catholic, but they were Irish. Almost every single war that was the case. World War I, it was almost twice a level of number of Catholics officially in the country were serving in the military. We need that space, and we will make it in any form. And even though we've been treated rudely on this, and you yourself, when you were elevated mayor,
thank you, Mr. Miller. Your time is up.
Applause.
Mr. Miller, your time is up. Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close that opportunity for public hearing, and that will be referred back to Committee of the Whole. All right, so that will take us to our last opportunity for public comment tonight. So this is public comment where you can speak about anything that is on your heart or mind. Same rules apply as earlier, so we ask that you respect 3 minutes. You can follow it right here. We ask that you share your name and the city that you live in. You tell them.
My name is Bonnie Burke, and I live in the 2nd Ward. I'm here tonight to address for the 3rd time the upcoming vacancy for a seat in the 3rd Ward. The Grand Rapids City Charter states that a person on this board is eligible to serve for 2 terms. Former Commissioner White has served 2 terms. He is ineligible and would be serving illegally on the board. Here are 7 reasons to consider abandoning his appointment. Number 1, it is illegal. He has already served 10 years on this board. Mr. White will be sued for accepting a position to which he is not eligible. Number 2, the city insurance will likely not cover the cost of this particular court challenge because Mr. White would be in violation of the city charter. With the largest proposed budget in the history of the city, where are you going to find the money? The current city comptroller tells us that the current financial state of the city is dismal. With the 2019 proposed budget, there is bond debt, unfunded liabilities, and a $218 million school debt. This total is a whopping $1.272 billion, or approximately $6,500 of debt for every man, woman, and child living in the city. This is alarming. You should be reining in the city spending, not throwing money away. Number 3, bad coverage on TV, radio, in print, and on social media. Your illegal action will be challenged in court. Term limits websites will use your illegal action to advocate for the necessity of term limits. You will be held up as the example of corruption and put our city in a negative light. Number 4, any votes cast by Mr. White would be null and void when you lose in court. You are creating a nightmare for any future city decisions and appointments if someone serves illegally. Number 5, the very taxpayers who term limited all of you would be paying for this legal challenge. This is useful fuel for opponents who run against you in future elections. Wasteful spending and self-serving action is useful ammunition for any challenger in an election. Number 6, several citizens on our Growing Watch committees have come to me suggesting a recall of anyone on this board who votes for this illegal appointment. Interesting idea and one to consider. And lastly, this is a self-serving act. You are ignoring the will of the voters who voted for term limits. Most of you currently in office are here because of term limits. You are disrespecting the very voters who put term limits into law. They have spoken, and they have spoken for term limits. Consider carefully how you move forward. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, others who wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Rena Baker. I live at 443 Carpenter Northwest in Grand Rapids. I am here this evening on behalf of several citizens to speak about the appointment of a 3rd Ward City Commissioner. I encourage each of you to follow our city charter amendment approved by voters in 2014, which limits eligibility to serve as city commissioner to 2 terms. Mr. Jim White has already served as a city commissioner for 2+ terms. Therefore, he is ineligible to serve again as a city commissioner. I strongly encourage you to follow the city charter Title 2, paragraph 9.2 and term limitations of city officials for all the reasons so eloquently presented to you by the Second Ward resident Bunny Burke. We citizens are at the top of the city organizational chart. Therefore, we are your boss, and you work for us. Do not waste precious time and city resources in considering the appointment of an ineligible citizen. Look instead at the pool of well-qualified and, above all, eligible candidates that the Third Ward has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Others who wish to be heard? Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you. I do have 2 issues addressed, but I'm gonna make it very quick. For one, I really recommend that Michigan adopts a toll road. If we adopt a toll road, we can improve our roads, and people that come here that are not, legal citizens of Michigan, they should have to pay, toll, just how we have to pay. We go to Indiana and Chicago. But that's that part I just wanted to say real quick. I'm really here because I advocate for, kids' safety. I've been following trends along because I have a criminal justice degree and I have a master's degree in psychology. So I've been, keeping up with current events and finding out what's going on in our community. Well, going all the way back from last year when they took that big parole bid and they let out all these, 3 to 4 habitual offenders, crime rates went up. We have lost over at least about 9 or 10 children within the last, not even a full year yet, over violence, over safety. And one thing I think that we need to really focus on is the safety of our kids because they are the pillar of our community and they are our future. So what I'm trying to suggest here is that we need to bridge gaps between law enforcement and the community. We need to bridge that gap. I took the pledge to do the GR Summer Kids Project, and I also have my own fundraiser that I started on my own, Keep Kids Safe Summer Drive, because it's my duty to make sure these kids are safe, but it's our duty as society to ensure that that takes effect. Now, we need to consider bridging that gap. Law enforcement and citizens, minorities have an issue. And I personally believe that it's both sides. I don't believe it's just law enforcement. I don't believe it's just the citizens. I believe that it's a trust issue between law enforcement and citizens. And I strongly recommend that you guys put funding into law enforcement so they can have cultural competencies training. They don't understand culture. The thing is, just because you see an African American or somebody that has less than you walking down the street with their pants sagging or something doesn't mean that they're considered a offender. They're children. They need guidance. They need direction. Yes, we have Wedgwood. Yes, we have all these different resources, but we do not have the pillars in this urban community coming together and making sure these kids go off to college to be doctors and lawyers. It is our duty and our responsibility to clean up our streets and clean our people, but it all starts with us. I'm not going to sit here and point the fingers at you guys. I'm going to point the fingers at every single person in Grand Rapids because we all fall short when these kids fall short. Can't point the finger at nobody in this situation. We need to bridge the gap between law enforcement. There's funding out there for law enforcement. They ain't good money. You guys put almost, $100 million in law enforcement? I don't know the statistics. I don't want to be wrong. But the thing is, if you can put in to pay them to patrol the streets, then guess what? Build a gap with them. Make sure that the city commission, city police has a meeting with citizens every month, twice a month, to build that relationship back up because it's broken and we need that.
Thank you. Thanks.
I got to talk real fast. So I brought the application to Commissioner Lanier about the pitch night. So this is the pitch night application for the ones that don't know what this is. The pitch night application, pitch night website, the flyer for my multicultural festival, the activities for the students and the youth, the program of moderators and the safe night intervention, and my proposal. So that's what I'm going to read to you right now. The more organization, mediators organizing real education. Grand Rapids Multicultural Festival 2018. Increase the peace, safety, intervention dialogue panel. How to resolve conflict resolution, back to school, stay in school initiative, anti-bullying awareness. The theme for this year is we all must make a contribution. Together we are the solution. Theme song, Yolanda Adams, The Things We Do, Mountain High Value Low album. Okay, Grand Rapids Safe Task Force, Peace Recommendation Address. Prevention Investment. Prevention through intervention for youth, teenagers, and young adults with the emphasis and the spotlight on long-term and short-term goals and solutions. We have already applied for a special event permit dated April 12, 2018. The event is called the Multicultural Festival GR 2018. And the event is held in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Saturday, April 11, 2018, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Rosa Parks Circle. Some of the scheduled events are called Increase the Peace, Safety, Intervention Dialogue panel also. How to Resolve Conflict Resolution, Anti-Bullying Initiative, and Back to School, Stay in School giveaway for book supplies, school supplies. And close are 4 documents of information regarding the Multicultural Festival. We would like the support and financial contribution from parents, the local school district, and businesses in the greater Grand Rapids community to help freight the cost of this exciting event. For our long-term and short-term goals, we are setting up a website to continue dialogue for future Increase the Peace, Safety, Intervention Dialogue events as we embark on these great tasks for our children. We want the community partners, stakeholders, and business ventures, all the partnerships for the youth. In doing so, we will host bi-monthly town hall meetings and panels with local, county, state, and national stakeholders, all coming together through training to empower youth adults. Parents, K-12 schools, and community leaders and organizations to promote positive change and solutions to help us become the model city we all want to see in this nation. Eliminate violent acts. We believe we can help decrease violence acts from our youth by creating a lasting partnership with SAFE, the young people, families, schools, communities, and the business district in Grand Rapids. We feel our efforts together will bring forward positive behavior results, and hopefully we can save our children lives.
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you.
This is for you, Miss Sunil Lanier.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
1 second, I got to give it to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Miss Mary, you said April, and I think you meant August 11th?
I'm saying I applied.
Oh, okay.
But it's going to be, I said August the 11th.
Okay.
At Rosa Parks Circus from 11 to 9. I applied for the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I've been on my job.
Thank you.
And 1 second, give me stuff.
You can scoot over, Miss Mary, to
Okay, thank
them chairs or something. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I can just.
All right. Others wish to be heard.
Also, thank you. Also, application for this year, so that she get my call, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The deadline is what, Thursday?
Wednesday or Thursday. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Tavian Moore, and I currently have the high honor of serving as president of the Greater Grand Rapids NAACP Youth Council. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is the oldest, boldest, and baddest grassroots-based civil rights organization in the entire world. We are tasked with the important responsibility of being on the forefront of every major and minor civil rights issue and standing up and speaking out about issues related to racial discrimination. We do this across our country, across our states, and in our local communities. My youth council and I are here tonight because we believe in our hearts that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We also believe that we are not the leaders of the future, but the leaders of the present. Tonight, we are here to make comments specifically about conversations that the City Commission has been discussing about expanding our police force and hiring more community-based police officers. I am embarrassed, we are embarrassed, to live in a city that has made national headlines not once, but twice, for holding innocent and unarmed youth of color at gunpoint. I am embarrassed, and we are embarrassed, to live in a city that when Chief Rahinsky says that hearing Anasi Hodges scream made him physically nauseous, is met with the police union president saying that he is no longer a leader that we can trust. Those youth will carry a lot of pain for the rest of their lives because they loosely fit a description or were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And just because their blood isn't running in the streets doesn't make it any less violent. I am embarrassed to live in a city that has not properly engaged the community who is on the forefronts of these issues, these negative interactions with the police, people in our community who look like myself and members of my youth council. We have received several complaints from Black and brown youth in our city, stating that they have been harassed for acting suspicious in stores, being placed in handcuffs after being accused of breaking into their own vehicles, or stopped when walking home after work in the summer for fitting a description. And when I ask the youth council who they go to when these issues arise, hoping that they would mention filing a complaint with the Internal Affairs Unit or speaking up at the Police Policy and Procedure Task Force meetings, they respond by saying, well, who are we supposed to go to when the people who are supposed to serve and protect us are targeting and harassing us? And I feel a sense of hopelessness when we discuss these issues because we talk about it as a routine and ongoing experience. We go to school, we go to soccer practice, we play Fortnite, we're stopped and harassed by the police, we're suspects, and it shouldn't be normalized, but it is. So I want to reiterate our statement that expanding our police force is not the answer to fixing broken community police relations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
We can get them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shorten it for everybody? Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert Metzger, East Grand Rapids, Michigan. Most of my time is spent at 312 Prospect Northeast. For me, I've been addressing an issue that for me started almost a year ago with the near death of a dog in my own parking lot at 312 Prospect Northeast. And it'll probably come as no surprise, since owners tend to resemble their dogs, that that dog was a bird dog. So hopefully a little bit of levity for you guys after a long evening. And I know that I did the attaboys and attagirls, but I do have to address you on an issue that you did actually create. So getting back to the traffic signal at Prospect in Michigan, I didn't have a lot of time last time I spoke to the commission because it takes a little bit of time to go through a 293-page report, but I did manage to boil it down to what counts, which is the report did not justify what was approved. And also the report actually documented that what we already know, Barclay, Lafayette, and College are failed intersections, loss rates E and F. And the report also did not, or study did not, take into consideration what would have to be removed from the network to bring them into a compliant D rating. And so what we're doing now is we're actually making Prospect in Michigan a loss E or F by design of intent. And we're adding a U-turn to the signal, which is going to further reduce throughput and performance and the loss rating. I would note that the map that I put out for you last time, I didn't get a chance to get into it in great detail, but Spectrum still owns half that property as of a week ago. I don't know if that's been updated since, and it certainly could change. But that site plan process should have gone through per the ordinance. And that's, if there were a site plan, MDOT would certainly not approve one where there's an offset in the street that's being maintained in that development. I could pursue an injunction with the city, have permits pulled, stop the construction, but to what end? The reality is you all did this because you wanted something and you want to see it happen. So I realize when I'm fighting a losing battle. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is how do I mitigate the situation so that I can live with it? To that end, I was even in touch with the parking enforcement people today to try to work on signs so that I can entertain installing a gate so I can cut down on the traffic in my own property. The problem is I can't just put a gate out without signs because there's a turnaround issue, and with parking on my side of the street, they can't see oncoming traffic. So the problem in investigating that is they're non-standard signs. And so they don't have a solution because they want to be able to maintain it, which I really don't expect them to maintain because I take care of the things. I don't really expect the city to maintain things. We're running out of time. I guess at this point, I also need a gate at Vineland Place. And in order to do that, I don't own it. The city owns it. So I was going to offer or request that you sell it to me for $1 since I've been the one taking care of it for the last couple decades when the city abandoned it in the mid-90s.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
What's Doug Miller back? And commenting on recent witnesses, including the very well this lady in green. I didn't catch her name. Multicultural, and also the NAACP. First of all, multicultural. Why is it being held at Rosa Parks Circle when every local black bus route is being checked out, going back to, this is almost June 14th of 2004. And so I'm speaking of Black Route 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 14, and also the Stolen 19. Stolen 19, whose neighborhood is that? Well, it started out, and I pressured Varga at that time to extend the 13B, so to speak, or 13 South. He wanted to stop it at Wealthy, where African American begins, on Fuller. I pressured him into getting it over to Madison Square, where the NAACP is now headquartered. It was a really cool route, the Oakdale 19. Varga is going to throw in a $15,000 subsidy, I heard at the last Rapid meeting, to boost up the 19. Since the 19 left Madison Square, where I've been riding through on my own since 1946, since it left, the first year it was down 70%, now it's down 60%. So racist Varga is throwing another $15,000 on it, and service every 15 minutes, which few of our routes see. So I would respectfully respect that the NAACP look into what's, our routes are not getting down there. And Rosa Parks had a way better deal before her arrest. Her Cleveland local bus in Montgomery went all the way down to Courthouse Square, where she had a one block walk to her department store job and back. A way better deal than any African American the city has now. So it's about, statues and ceremonies and multicultural this and that, but the black bus route still only back there. Kindly focus on 19, get it back to your neighborhood, Madison Square, running Oakdale and Hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Jim Howe, Crescent Neighborhood Association. The property managers that were here tonight, seems like it made up a large amount of rental properties in the city. One person had 1,000, Mr. Green has a couple hundred. The RPOA was here, which is a large region. To my understanding, the RPOA, if you have a membership with them at a certain level, they run background checks for free for you. You just give them the customer's information. So they have a set cost because they know how much to charge their members in order for that to be covered and them still make a profit. Mr. Green's business is reliant on running background checks on people as well as providing maintenance upkeep, and he sets a level of costs for that. Maybe that cost is why property owners are only making 7%, as he said, on their money. Because I know property owners that are making 30% on their money easily. So it's my confusion is are they expecting you guys to be putting in a band? Because that'd be fantastic, and we'd all love that. Or a limit on the fee. And when we met with Mr. Powell at the RPOA, he said it cost them about $25, and then Mr. Green says it cost them about $75. So is there not even like amongst them that they come to you and say like, this is how much a background check costs, that you guys could at least be informed? I mean, it sounds like they would even be button heads on how much a fee is, and they run these things all the time. As well as, to my knowledge, the city clerk's department runs background checks. So maybe they could disclose to us how much a fee is, that for them to run that information, or the Housing Commission could make theirs public so that people would have something to go against when that information is provided to them. So that it's not that Mr. DeLong's office is getting calls every week from people who think they might be getting charged too much, but that we would actually have this is how much the city pays for it type deal. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard before we close this public comment period?
Russ Van Torn again. property manager here in Grand Rapids, to just make one comment on what was just said. There's a cost for the actual search, which it sounds like it's $25 with the RPOA. I don't use them, but that doesn't take in consideration literally the tens or hundreds of $1,000s of our employees' cost, including the building, electric and gas, and all the employees, the payroll taxes. So different people are going to take a cost and look at it overall or just for the application. There's much, much more than just the application fee. So I just hope that you'd understand that. The other, and I'm sure you all understand this, but maybe for the benefit of some in the audience, we used to have, and I think we still do for the most part, a free enterprise. That's a term that we all know. And part of the free enterprise is a consumer sovereignty, right? I'm sure you all know that. But I'd like you to read that. The power of consumers to determine what goods and services are produced. The theory suggests that consumers, not producers, are the best judge of what products benefit them the most. Due to the fact that the consumer markets depend so heavily on demand, producers must monitor the needs of these individuals if they want their products to have any chance of success. We keep our application fees about a third of what they actually cost because the consumer will not allow it to be $100. I've been doing this 40-some years and I've never ever heard of anybody charging $100. Maybe that's happened once or twice, but that certainly is not the norm. The norm is $35 to $40, which for a property management company is about a third of what it costs. I heard somebody say that an application fee should not be a profit for a landlord. I may agree with that, I may not dispute it, but should not Meijer make a profit on the milk they sell, the bread they sell? If people think they have a right to limit the profit of a property management company, where does that stop? Are you going to start legislation, everything in Grand Rapids, and say you can sell this for this or that or so on? Just want to make that point. Somebody made a comment about application fee for viewing a house, and I just wanted you all to understand, you don't have to have an application to view a house. You can view a house without an application fee. And if you have 5 people there, yeah, you're going to want to ask some questions, because it's the first one that brings the deposit. Somebody else said, well, they get to choose from all these. No, we don't. It's the first one that comes with a deposit who gets it. As long as they qualify, bring the deposit, you got the house. So a lot of misconception of what's going on out there. There's not any discrimination, believe me, that goes on in this industry and with property management in this town. And you could look at our base, I don't know what you want to call discrimination, but that's just doesn't happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any final comments?
Martha Cooper, I just couldn't help myself. So on the consumer driven, that would have something to do with the fact that you could choose to purchase or not to purchase. As I pointed out earlier, it's really hard to choose not to purchase a place to live. If you want milk from Meijers, you don't have to pay Meijers for Meijers to determine whether you qualify to buy milk. I'm really sorry that people have to employ people. You know, when I had a business, I employed people. All right, so one of the things I'm going to say, because we understand that it's, you know, the free market. Well, the free market hasn't done a heck of a lot for people in this city because we aren't making enough money in the free market, which is all about the business people. And I'm seeing a city talking a whole lot more about helping business people over this last year than I've really seen them lay their necks out for the people that voted for you, or even the people you want to vote for you. So I don't know how much time I got left, but that was really hard to listen to. At one of our commission meetings, we met with a really fine commissioner, and I mentioned, you know, let's talk about this. We live under the system of capitalism. Let's talk about business for a second. Is business for its own purpose and its own profit? Or is business for the development of the community? The jobs that it provides, the services that it provides, the widgets that it provides, the buns, the whatever business is selling. Again, nobody has to pay to determine whether you can buy milk. It's not a free market if I can't rent on what income I have. I have no freedom. In fact, I have so little freedom as a renter that my landlord can raise my rent $100, $200, $300. There's nothing. And if you call that a free market, I'm going to say that guy right there, our last speaker, was probably, I hope, the actual picture of why all of us came today. I employed people and I paid them enough that they could afford a place to live. I hope that his people can afford one of his places to live. Because I've seen all kinds of things going up where we're giving lots of public money. How much public money will go into the Affordable Housing Fund?
Thank you, Martha. Martha, your time's up. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Hello. My name's Kevin Wright. I am the owner-broker of Quest Property Management, and we represent probably 60 plus landlords here in Grand Rapids. I just wanted to, it's a shame, I guess, that this issue is even up. I'm sure there probably are some landlords out there who have not ethically handled the applications in the market that we're in right now, where it's quite hot. There's a lot of activity. It's not an easy position to be in, frankly, to go through the application screening process. Our company, we charge $40 per application. Our hard costs on the actual processing that we do outsource, it's $43. We lose $3 every time we run an app. That doesn't include our labor costs either. It's not a profit center. It was never meant to be. Our goal is simply to run the least amount of apps to find the highest quality applicants. If that could be one every time, that would be amazing, but it just isn't how it works. Some other things that I've not heard mentioned is there are recourse already for residents who may feel like they've been wronged in some fashion. If an applicant is declined based on credit, the Federal Credit Act already requires landlords to issue what's called an adverse action letter, which states the reason why they were declined, or I'm sorry, not the reason why, but if it was based on a credit report that was pulled, they must be given the information already for what bureau that they pulled the report from, so that they have their opportunity to go get that free credit report and find out why. So that's already there. HUD and Fair Housing already regulates how we treat applicants, and there's Fair Housing Center right there on Hall Street. If the city is looking for some sort of mechanism to advocate for residents, I would suggest you just direct them to Fair Housing. It's already there. So I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. It just seems like none of that's been said. I don't even know if it's recognized, frankly. But thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard?
Hi, John Rothwell, Second Ward. I've speak on a few issues tonight. First of all, what I just heard, I'm glad I don't have to pay money for every type of application I fill out, because the number of jobs I've been filling out for, I could just go broke if I had to fill out $100 an application fee for a job application. So let's start on a little bit. First of all, we spoke a lot about veterans tonight. Let's remember and just take into consideration that we are still in an 18-year war, and America is still engaged in a war in the Middle East. These veterans will be coming home, many of them damaged psychologically, physically, and we got to take care of them. and we forget about us being in a war every day. There's no draft, so it's all volunteer. So we must be reminded of it. As far as the housing goes, how many houses are there in Grand Rapids? Somebody told me about 20,000. I don't know if that's correct or not, but maybe more or less. But let me use that 20,000 figure. I just heard one gentleman say 1,000 houses and another gentleman 700 houses. That's 1,700 houses 2 corporations own. You want affordable housing in this town? You work on ownership. A mortgage right now for a house is right around $500 a month. Why is somebody paying an overzealous, greedy, mega corporation landlord $1,200, $1,500, $1,800 just to get screwed around? The city needs to help with affordable housing and home ownership. Home ownership makes neighborhoods. Home ownership gives people pride. Home ownership lets people take care of their yards and show something they're for. You don't get city complaints usually from home owners about their yards and that kind of stuff. It's absentee mega landlords that ruin the city. Finally, I've got 59 seconds left. Let's end this meeting, since it looks like I'm going to be the last one here, on a high note tonight. You know where I'm going?
No.
Let's city plan on the legalization bill passing in November so we can come off running, not just medical marijuana. I'd like to see the city must have a plan because that bill is going to pass in November. So, like I said, let's end it on a high note and all have fun. Thanks.
Now I get what you mean, John. Took me a minute for that pun. All right. Any final comments before I close this public hearing? All right. We are closed with that public hearing. And now I will turn to my colleagues, and I am going to start tonight with a couple comments and announcements. So before I turn our attention to Commissioner Allen to say our farewell, as this is his last time with us around this table, I would like to share a couple things. So recently, Commissioner White reached out and contacted the city, and after giving close and, as he called, prayerful consideration to all aspects of the matter before us with filling the vacancy of the 3rd Ward, he has respectfully asked to withdraw his name for consideration. So in light of this, I recommend that we work with our HR department. So in the past, when we've had openings around this table, we've worked with our HR department to help us create a process for applications and interviews and the appointment process. So after tonight, we'll start working on that with our HR department and bring forward a process. Again, we talked about this earlier. We couldn't start a process until the position is officially vacated, and so now that will be triggered and we will move forward on that. So we can talk more about those details in the next couple weeks after I have a chance to talk to HR. And so with that, I would like to spend our last time together tonight thanking our colleague for his service. And so I will start. Commissioner Allen, thank you for your dedication and your sacrifice. I think those of us around this table, we know firsthand the amount of time and energy it takes to serve and to be around this table. And you have done it with your full heart and soul, and it has shown. You are passionate about so many things. You've brought a lot of energy to this table, a lot of expertise, particularly with really complex issues that we're facing as a community. And so I want to say thank you for your service and all that you've given to the city. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I think I'll start over here with my colleague, Commissioner Jones, and we'll go around the table before we end.
Yep, just wanted to begin by saying thanks to all who came out on this evening, those who spoke as well as those who were just present. It was a long evening, but I think always worthwhile in terms of giving folk an opportunity to share their sentiments, and so very appreciative of that. I also want to take an opportunity to bid farewell to my friend and my brother, Dave Allen. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve with you. I had the opportunity on last year to sit next to you. Obviously, we either didn't get along or we talked too much because they put me way over here. So I've not asked for the explanation. Doesn't matter. But just I've always appreciated your expertise and knowledge of everything from affordable housing to understanding the intricacies of community in the urban core. And so there's no doubt that we'll still cross paths, and wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, and I'm looking forward to see what the future holds for your brother. So wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr.
Dave, I don't have any questions for you, but I do have a couple quick comments. And I do want to say genuinely, man, I'm going to miss your partnership and your perspective around here. You know, it's needed and it's valued, and so you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, given the work that you do, that is needed. You need that. We need that perspective, and we need that experience around the table. And so, whoever we try to find to replace you has got big shoes to fill, man. So, thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and had some really rich public comment this evening on a number of topics. I'll be brief. Dave, I am going to miss you, and appreciate our long-standing working relationship in many different settings. And I think I'll stop there. Yeah.
Commissioner?
I too want to thank everybody for coming. I know a lot of people have already left. Mr. Metzger, I did follow up and tried to call the man a couple times. He just wasn't home, left voicemails. I'd like to ask our city attorney or Eric to see what we can find out about state law as regards the fees, because we have many restrictions from at the state level, and it may be that we don't have an opportunity. They have an option even to ban a fee. So I think that would be helpful. There is a House bill right now, Bill 6126, that's actually was just reported on in the Detroit Free Press last week, or 3 days ago, which would actually increase the amount landlords could charge for security deposits from 1.5 months to 2 months, plus $100 deposit in addition to that. So I think that's something that Homes for All, Jim, you might want to follow up on with your state legislators, and we can also look at that in our legislative committee. And then I just want to turn to my colleague and wish you farewell, but hopefully not farewell.
I'll be around.
It seems like just yesterday that you and I were standing up here with our daughters when we were getting sworn in, and time flies, and I can't believe that you're going to be gone from sitting next to me. I didn't get enough time to talk with this man yet.
I didn't want to get in trouble again.
So goodbye, Dave, and thanks for serving, and yeah, don't disappear.
Are we skipping him? I too want to just say thanks particularly for the solidarity of Homes for All and standing for people who are suffering. That's really powerful, and many people shared tonight, and it was very powerful. Dave, thanks. We got to sit next to each other, so I thank for all your help understanding all the shenanigans, especially the budget. And so many times you elbowed me and said you forgot to say "so moved," so I learned that from you. But I also learned almost everything I know about housing from you when we hosted that meeting at The Other Way 3 years ago. You were there, and then we continued in conversation, and that's many ways why I'm up here now. So, but the thing I appreciate, and you've demonstrated this everywhere you've gone, is your innovative spirit, and you've taken something and problems and found new solutions to them. And I'm excited about what's next for the land bank, because it sounds like it's going to be another iteration of innovation. So thanks a lot.
Well, the good thing is,
for everybody around this table, all the other commissioners, I've worked with you for years before I became a city commissioner, so I'm not going anywhere, and I'll still be in your lives. Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, I'm still going to be making comments and writing letters and writing emails, just be from the other side of the table. So with that in mind, I'm going to go out with a bang. So just because the opportunity presented itself, and it's just too rich not to take advantage of it. And I wish the big audience was here. No one. It's easy to make public comment at 8 o'clock, but then you're not here at 10:30, but that's for another discussion. So I made a comment at the last meeting, and I was quoted by saying that the RPOA being at the table to help solve this issue is like having the fox guard the hen house. Then there were comments made tonight. Clay was here. So I went on rpoaonline.org, and I just want to point out a couple things. I like Clay. He's a good guy. I've had many conversations with him. I don't always agree with him, but Clay is doing his job. And let's be clear about that. Clay's job is to advocate for rental property owners. And so their mission is to promote a local and statewide business climate that's conducive to sustaining profitability and effective management of real estate investments. He does care, and he truly does care about how their membership is viewed, and I appreciate him for that. But let's look at the rest of it. So this is on their website under Government Affairs, and it was posted January 16, 2018. This is a critical time. I want you to hear this in light of what we're dealing with in Grand Rapids and housing as a whole. Not just this issue, but housing as a whole. And this is who we have at the table to solve this issue. This is a critical time for legislation. New bills have been introduced that will significantly impact your real estate investment business for better or worse. We need your support to kill these bills. And later on their website, they talk about fighting for landlords. They mentioned that several times. But let me just read a couple that they want killed. A bill to require lead inspections at all regular rental inspections. They want that killed. The bill to allow local governments to set rent controls. But this is the one that struck me the most. It's a bill, they want a bill killed to provide for court-appointed conservators or administrators to control blighted property, and blighted property is defined by local politicians. Now that's a subject that we've been talking about at this board in the context of housing, that we have over 2,000 vacant housing, abandoned housing units, and there's legislation that would allow us to pass some legislation to deal with that issue, to move those into productive service, and they're fighting to kill that bill. So I really take exception to them being a part of this. Oh, and they do offer their membership fee. The highest level is $464 annually, no matter how many units you own. And for that $464 fee, you get unlimited background checks, criminal checks, and credit reports, unlimited, which is $39 a month, by the way. So, I think we're barking up the wrong tree or going down the wrong trail, whatever adage you want to use, having RPOA at the table. And I make no negative comments about Clay. He's doing what he's supposed to do, which is advocate for his people. So I'll get off that soapbox and I'll say it's really been a pleasure to serve. I really, really, truly, at the bottom of my heart, regret the fact that I had to make the decision to step down. I just couldn't continue to do it. I think over the coming months, you're going to see some really exceptional, exciting stuff that we're working on with the State Land Bank in Muskegon Heights, in Muskegon, in Holland, in Romulus, Michigan. I mean, the need for housing is a statewide issue, and we think we have the state, the MISHDA at the table and the State Land Bank at the table to really make a significant impact in this, in that affordable housing realm. So I'm excited at the opportunity to get to do that, but I'm really sad. I'll be honest with you, I don't miss long nights like this, but like the budget process we just went through, I actually am going to miss that because that's some of the stuff that I enjoy the most. And I'm really going to miss my partnership with Sunita, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be there for you. So, you can call me on any issue and I'm there for you. So, with that, I'll say good night and thank you all for coming.
Thank you for your service. Any final comments?
It's hard to follow that. And I really don't want to, except to say thank you, David, for your support of staff and working with staff and being an excellent commissioner and having the heart for the city that you have. So it's been great working with you, and I know staff feels the same way.
Thanks.
All right, City Attorney, any final thoughts?
I'll just say you'll be missed, and I appreciate your support over the time I've been here, and appreciate your passion about things, and even your challenging me at times, which means I'm still going to have my eye on you.
All right.
City Clerk?
He'll tell me what to do yet. So.
We are adjourned.